All done. Your BMW's been fully serviced and is good to go.
Oh, thanks so much.
That's great. Cheers.
Much appreciated.
When you bring your car home to BMW, you'll get genuine parts, expert technicians and a range of payment options tailored to you. It's all part of our commitment to exceptional value for money and ultimate peace of mind.
Wonderful, thank you.
No need to thank us. It's all part of the BMW service. Search BMW service to discover more. Terms and conditions apply.
What's on TV? The answer is a lot. There's never been more choice over what to put on the box with an abundance of great new shows, but you can miss them all if you don't know where to look. And that's where the Pilot TV podcast comes in, your essential guide to every show that matters. Each week we sift through the very best in prestige TV to help you decide what's worth spending your time on and what isn't. So join me, James Dyer, as well as venerable TV critics Boyd Hilton and Kay Ribeiro, and let us help take the stress out of your downtime. The Pilot TV podcast, because you can't watch everything.
You can't do much in under 5 minutes. Boil an egg? Sure. Cook a roast dinner? No chance. But comparing car insurance prices with mustard.co.uk? Easy. See what you could save in just a few minutes. Click mustard.co.uk. Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. See website for details.
It's game day, and this is the home of Scottish football. It's Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Good afternoon and welcome to Clyde One Super Scoreboard. Rangers host Hearts as Russell Martin looks for his first league win, and he'll be doing it without Nico Raskin. Stephen Robinson takes charge of his 400th game when St Mirren play Falkirk. Aberdeen face Livingston as they try to get off the foot of the table. Motherwell travel to Dundee. It's Hibs against Dundee United later, and that's all before fan protests at Rugby Park when Celtic take on Kilmarnock tomorrow. I'm Andrew Maclean. Joining me in the studio is Gordon Dalziel, Cammy Bell and Hugh Keevins.
Well, yesterday we had a who done it at Celtic. Today the only question that matters is who won it. Russell Martin really needs a win against a Hearts team who haven't had a victory at Ibrox for the last 11 years. No Nico Raskin. The Rangers support split over backing the Belgian or the head coach. The Aberdeen support split over Jimmy Tillene. 5 wins in 30 matches. Aberdeen bottom of the league with no points. They must beat Livy at Pittodrie. And big tests of Dundee and Falkirk at home to Motherwell and St Mirren respectively. Big day, Daz.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an edge towards this weekend for me. As you quite pointed out highly there, the Rangers game, the importance of Celtic, the walkout, the protests, everything that's going there. Aberdeen, big day for them as well. I think we've got excitement up and down the country and throughout the divisions as well, Andrew, we've got to say. But I think all eyes this afternoon will be on Ibrox.
Yeah, no lack of talking points this week, Cammy. A lot of them have been away from the pitch. Hopefully we'll get to talk a bit about the action on the pitch, but just so much happening this week.
Yeah, so much happening. Again, I'm really looking forward to that game at Ibrox. I think it's going to be an absolute blockbuster. Again, Rangers under huge pressure to try and find that first victory, but Hearts going so well at this moment in time as well. And then you've got that game later on tonight as well, Hibs v Dundee United, which I think will be a tasty one. Aberdeen under pressure to get a win, so much to talk about this afternoon.
Yeah, loads of big games, so many big talking points. Looking forward to getting into it. Of course, a lot of lower league football on the go today as well. We will talk you all the way through it until 6 o'clock. From 5 o'clock you'll have your say, but for now sit back and relax and just take in the action and the potential madness as well that there always is in Scottish football, Hugh.
Andrew, I have to say to you, I have never known in what is, let's be honest, a long career, I have never known Celtic and Rangers to be in the state that they are in at the moment. I've never known two sets of supporters to be simultaneously in a state of chaos. You've got the protest at Rugby Park tomorrow, the fans staying outside, some of them, until 12 minutes have passed and then going in. I even met a man this morning who told me that Russell Martin needs to get a haircut to get things sorted out at Ibrox. Both sets of supporters in torment, but the only thing that helps them is Rangers beat Hearts today and Celtic beat Kilmarnock tomorrow. Otherwise, the torment escalates.
Well, let's not hang about. Let's go straight to Ibrox and get the team news. Rangers against Hearts. David Friel is there for us.
Yes, Andrew, I've not actually seen Russell Martin yet, so I can't report whether he's had a haircut or not, but yeah, looking forward to this one. I think Cammy used the word blockbuster. I think we're all hoping for that. It's going to be a really good game. I think today quite quiet here at Ibrox just now, just maybe a couple of hundred fans filtering into the stadium, but this place will be packed by 3pm. I think everybody's just waiting to see if Rangers can deliver a first Premiership win of the season at the 5th time of asking. I think August was a bit mad, a bit crazy for Rangers. The intense pressure Russell Martin was under in the face, and it's been a quiet couple of weeks at Ibrox since. The noisy neighbours across the city, they've created most of the headlines. Celtic obviously over the international break, but the focus returns to Rangers today, and the guys were saying dropping more points is pretty much unthinkable. Martin did ease some of the pressure on him with that 0-0 Old Firm draw. However, I think it's fair to say he's got so much to prove to a pretty sceptical support. I don't think there's full backing for him yet, and the Nico Raskin situation hasn't helped at all. He remains on the naughty step for this one. That hasn't gone down well. I think with the bulk of the Rangers fans, they hope to see the Belgium in the team today, at the very least in the squad, but he won't even be on the bench as his exile continues from the squad for off-field matters. Really, that's a big call from Russell Martin. There was some interest in Raskin yesterday from Turkey, either loan or permanent. That didn't come to fruition, so he remains at the club, but he's not here, he's not in the squad. And I think his situation will loom large over this game. We'll keep an eye and just see if there are chants in his favour today. But I think what Russell Martin needs is a win to take some of the attention away from that. And he has been boosted by some strong international performances over the last couple of weeks. I think Rangers had 9 players away in total. Like Tello Asgard, he scored 4 goals for Norway. John Suter was excellent for Scotland. I think a lot of them have come back feeling good about themselves. New £8 million striker Yusuf Chermiti, he's fit, he's on the bench, as is new Canadian defender Derek Cornelius. And Russell Martin's actually just named the same team that drew with Celtic a couple of weeks ago. So Jack Butland in goals, James Tavernier, Nasser Jiga, John Suter and Jagan Mahoma at the back, Conor Barron, Mohamed Diamandis and Tello Asgard in midfield, with Jady Gassam, Bojan Majowski and Mikey Moore in attack. Subs for Rangers are Kelly, Aarons, Rothwell, Chermiti, Cornelius, Barami, Curtis, Antman and Danilo. As for Hearts, it's all there for them today. Win, and they'll go 9 points ahead of Rangers after just 5 games. Incredible stuff. Derek McKenzie's assembled a really strong squad. He's been back, they're unbeaten in the league. And it's quite interesting reading his quotes this week. He's urged them to be really brave today. As Hugh was saying, Hearts haven't won here since 2014, but the new manager isn't interested in any sob stories. He doesn't think that should come into their thinking. He believes Hearts have the squad to get the result here. He thinks they'll get the experience and the goal threat. They are without record signing Eduardo Agiu and Frankie Keaton, who's been excellent this season, but they have a strong team out. Stephen Kingsley comes in at the back. Alexandros Kizaridis, who was so good against Livy a couple of weeks ago, he also starts in attack, and Hearts are clearly going for this one. And there's also a big call from Derek McInnes in goal. New German keeper Alexander Schwolo, he's in for Xander Clark. Xander Clark dropped to the bench. The 33-year-old German was at Union Berlin last season. Huge experience. He's played with Schalke and Hertha Berlin in the past. However, he's only played once since January, only won 90 minutes since the turn of the year, so that is a big call from Derek McInnes. He'll be in goals today. He'll be behind a back three of Kingsley, Craig Halkett and Stuart Finlay. Ocean McEntee, Cammy Devlin, Benny Beringame and Harry Milne look to be across the middle, with Claudio Braga, Lawrence Shankland and Kizaridis in attack. Subs for Hearts are Clark, Kabangu, Jamie McCart makes his return, Forrest, Kabori, Steinvender, Spittle, Magnussen and Kjell. The referee Steve McLean, the VAR is Greg Aitken.
Well, we knew that Nico Raskin wasn't going to be involved today. We'll get round to him in a second, but just on the Rangers team that's been selected, no changes from that game against Celtic. Hugh, does that surprise you at all, with the new signings coming in as well, both on the bench?
Doesn't surprise me because it's Russell Martin, but it's the same team who put in a very poor performance against Celtic. Celtic were equally awful, but Rangers played very badly that day, and they cannot go 5 league games into the manager's career at Ibrox and win none of them. It's a huge afternoon for Russell Martin, and he has to get the ball to Majowski, I think, as quickly as possible. We all know Russell Martin's backstory, the famous goal that was scored by the MK Dons when he was manager there, that involved 58 passes before the ball got into the net. The Rangers fans have had it with this stuff. They want Majowski, who is a very, very dangerous player, who's had 2 weeks of training during the international break to help him. They want the ball to Majowski, and he will do the rest.
I'm not surprised it's the same starting lineup. I know what Hugh says. I don't think anybody would say that the Rangers-Celtic game was a classic by any matter of means, but it was a massive game for Russell Martin, and he couldn't afford to lose it. They looked the better side for me on the day, although it was a poor game. And those players went out and put a shift in for him. And I think Rangers fans at that point thought, right, okay, he's changed, he's tweaked his tactics a little bit. Hugh touched on about all this passing malarkey. Wonder if he'll change it today again, what way, what style of play. But I'm not surprised the same starting 11.
For me, it doesn't matter what style they've got to win today. That is it. The be all and end all is winning the game of football. I don't care what they do. They need to find a way to win. I think they've got the players on the pitch that if Russell Martin can find a performance from them players, they're good enough to go and win the game. But it's just trying to find that at Ibrox as well. We know the crowd after 30 minutes, if it isn't going their way, they will be on top of the players. So they need to handle the pressure today, all them players.
And you'd expect that the crowd may well be chanting for a player that's not in the squad at all. Nico Raskin, would you expect that will come at some point early in the game potentially?
100%. I think the majority of the fans are on Raskin's side. Now the problem is, it's okay for a fan saying Raskin is probably one of the best midfield players I've got, and probably the best on his game for me. He's a Belgium internationalist, so you must have a bit of a talent. But we do not know what's going on inside that dressing room. Now, a manager cannot afford to lose the rest of his players in the dressing room because of one guy. I think every Rangers fan wants him in the team. I totally understand that. But Russell Martin has got to be a strong leader if he's got to be successful at Rangers. Now, what we're hearing come now is the fact that Raskin is very hard to deal with, right? But there's a lot of players, and the old cliche, you've got to be able to manage, but you've still got other players you've got to consider as well. So it's a difficult one. There's positives there, but I think Russell Martin's decided, look, I'm going with the same guys as last week.
I'll tell you what, it has to be settled very quickly, this whole nonsense, because midweek Nico Raskin is playing beside Kevin De Bruyne for the Belgian national side and scoring a goal against Kazakhstan, but can't play for Rangers on the Saturday. The manager or head coach has taken a stance on this one player. The crowd, some are with the head coach. I think the majority are with the player. So this whole situation has to be sorted out, and it ought not to be beyond the imagination of Kevin Thelwell in his position at Ibrox and the head coach and the player to get this sorted out, because otherwise...
Hugh, does it not tell you there's a bigger problem? Right, now Russell Martin is, I would say, a clever man, knows his job's under a little bit of pressure. He's not hit the ground running. Fans aren't really taking to him. You're saying, oh, get a haircut. They're picking on every single thing. Now, for me, if that's Russell Martin thinking, I need to win the supporters over, I need to win games, I need to start hitting the ground running here, I've got new players in, Raskin playing in Belgium's team against the top league. You want your best players in the team, so it tells me there's more to this than just a
simultaneously, to go back to the point about Celtic and Rangers, you've got two situations festering. Raskin is festering at Ibrox, and it has to be sorted out. And at Celtic Park, you've got the fans against the board, and now the whodunit, the mystery person who leaked a story, an inaccurate story about Brendan Rodgers. That has to be sorted out as well. Rangers and Celtic cannot allow two situations to fester.
Well, we'll take a look a bit closer at those two situations very shortly, but let's go back around the grounds, or back to the grounds that we haven't spoken to yet, to get the team news and build up. Let's go to the Falkirk Stadium. Falkirk against St Mirren. Fraser Wishart's there.
Good afternoon, Andrew. It's always difficult, I think, at this time of the year for clubs like Falkirk and St Mirren to get a bit of momentum going, because it's a bit strange, interrupted by international breaks. League Cup games are now played at weekends as well, and we're in mid-September. And St Mirren have played 4 games, Falkirk only 3, and Falkirk, I think, disappointed to have had that break last Saturday after their terrific 1-0 victory at Pittodrie a fortnight ago, where they dominated the game with the better team and got a superb victory. But that was an important victory for them, because first league win of the season, and that lifted their players' confidence, many of whom haven't really played much at this level. John McGlynn brought in a number of young English players on loan from clubs to supplement his team that won back-to-back promotions. One of them, Wilson, scored the goal. Kerry Wilson, he's not fit to play today. He scored the winner at Pittodrie, but whether it'll be a success, all these young lads are not as unknown. So like Spencer, Henderson, Arfield, Miller, they're still so important. I think they'll be looking to take the game to St Mirren today, which might suit St Mirren, who of course are a big, strong, powerful team, quick on the break. They're very comfortable with teams coming at them. They like to have grass in behind them, or artificial turf as it is today, in behind the opposition defence. And it's been a season of almost for St Mirren this season. They almost got a point in the opening day against Celtic. That late McCowan goal was the winner. They almost beat Rangers, they were ahead, but ended up 1 each. They almost beat Hibs a couple of weeks ago, again ahead, and it was 1-1 in the end. So although they've not won in the league, 3 draws in that Celtic defeat, I don't think Stephen Robinson will be concerned yet, because his team looks strong, they're playing some decent stuff. The usual shape and formation, and new players are settling in. Their transfer window consisted of their usual targets, lower leagues in England, Republic of Ireland league as well, and the likes of Freckleton and others look like good additions. So a real contrast of styles here today. I don't think there'll be a shortage of action. There always is when Falkirk play, because they play a very open game, so there's always chances at both ends. So I'm really looking forward to an exciting 90 minutes. Unsurprisingly, John McGlynn's made no changes after that win against Aberdeen, so their usual 4-2-3-1 formation. Scott Baines in goals, Keelan Adams, Lewis Nielsen, Liam Henderson and Leon McCann at the back. Sitters in midfield are Henry Cartwright and Brad Spencer, with Calvin Miller, Dylan Tate and Scott Arfield behind the striker Ross McKeever. The subs: Nicky Hogarth, Alfredo Aguiman, Connor Allen, Ethan Williams, Trey Samuel Ogunsue, Brian Graham, Gary Oliver, Philip Lisa and Sam Hart. And there's no changes either by Stephen Robinson from the team that got the draw at Easter Road a couple of weeks ago as well. Normal 3-5-2 formation for them. Shamal George in goals, Marcus Fraser, Alec Gogic and Miguel Frickleton at the back. Jaden Richardson, Kieran Phillips, Keanu Bacchus, Mark O'Hara and Declan John across the middle. 2 strikers are Jonah Ayunga and Mikael Mandron. The subs for St Mirren: Ryan Mullen, Tumisi Sobawale, Richard King, Scott Tanzer, Conor McMenamin, Richard Odowu, Martin Dykesdale, Dan Lundulu and Evan Mooney. And the referee today is Duncan Nicholson, and the VAR is the experienced specialist in VAR, Andrew Dallas.
And what about Dundee against Motherwell at Dens Park? Tom Grant.
Yeah, thanks Andrew, and good afternoon to you all. Yeah, with some of the other top flight matches kicking about today, it's a hard sell to say that this is the match of the day in Scotland, but I'll certainly give it a try. It's the battle of 2 new managers, both of whom are still searching for their first league win. Last time out for today's host Dundee was that pretty dismal display here at Dens Park against Derby rivals Dundee United just before the international break. That 2-0 loss continued a dreadful run for the Dark Blues here at Dens. Wait for it, they have only notched 1 league win here at home in 2025, and that was a win over St Mirren back in April under Tony Docherty. So throw in the poor start in the Premier Sports Cup with those defeats to Airdrie and Alloa, and pressure is definitely beginning to mount on manager Stephen Presley, and he is in desperate need for 3 points here today. And listening to some Dundee fans this week, small silver linings from the Derby defeat was the debut performance of Ethan Hamilton, the former Manchester United academy player signing on from Lincoln City in August, and the continued progression of young centre-back Luke Graham, who made 23 appearances for Falkirk on their march to promotion from the Championship last season. It's widely thought he's been Dundee's standout man in an otherwise struggled start. To visitors Motherwell and Jens Bertalascu, his side have had plenty of plaudits for the way they go about their football, particularly up until the 65th minute against Hearts at Tynecastle, but that style hasn't transferred into wins, with 4 draws from the first 4 games, 6 scored and 6 conceded. The manager admitted this week his team have been playing a little bit too open for his liking, and he spent the last international fortnight in working on cutting out the big chances he gives to his opponents. Tawande Maswahinde netted his 6th goal in all competitions last time out against Kilmarnock, with Emmanuel Longolo also getting on the scoresheet with his 3rd league goal in 4 games. The Steelmen had mixed fortunes at Dens Park last season. A 4-1 defeat in December was followed up with a last-minute winner in April when Maswahinde leaped ahead home in stoppage time to seal the win with 10 players. So on to today's teams. Stephen Presley has changed it up slightly from 2 weeks ago. Out go left back Billy Kumetio, in comes Finlay Robertson to bolster up the midfield. So he's switched from a 5 at the back to a 4 with an extra man in the middle. So it's John McCracken, Dre Wright, Ryan Astley, Clark Robertson, Luke Graham. In the midfield it's Joe Wesley, Finlay Robertson, Ethan Hamilton, Jan Danda, Tony Younganu supporting Simon Murray further up the park. For Motherwell, Callum Ward starts in goals. John Katrumbi comes in for Stephen O'Donnell. It's then Apostolos Stamatopoulos, Lucas Fadinga, Tawanda Masingwe, Elliot Watt, Emmanuel Longelo, Stephen Welsh, Regan Charles Cook and Ibrahim Saeed for Motherwell. And just before you came to me, Andrew, there was an absolute deluge of rain. You could hear the rain smashing off this old Dundee main stand, and just because of that and that downpour slicking up the pitch just that little bit, I'm going to predict goals at this one. It should be a good one.
We've also had a late call-off. Dave Galloway's failed a late fitness test, so he's not able to make it along to Aberdeen against Livingston, but I'll give you the teams. It's Mitov in goal for Aberdeen. The back four, Jensen, Dorrington, Canuster and Gyamfi. The two holding midfielders, Nilsson and Shinnie. It'll be Keskinen, Al-Shish and Jesper Karlsson, the new signing that I think a lot of people are excited to see in behind Kevin Nisbet, who of course has made his return to Pittodrie. For Livingston, it's Prier in goal. In the back four, Finlayson, McGowan, Wilson and Montgomery. Pittman and Silla with Macaulay Tate in midfield. Lewis Smith and Tete Yenge either side of Robbie Muirhead, who is leading the line. As always, in the next part of the show, we'll be bringing in the guys and taking a look at the big talking points across the week. I think we've got quite a bit to get through, don't we?
This season, I want to see us have a real shot. Want to see us at full strength. Want a bench that gives us options. Want to get some momentum. Want to do it on a cold, wet night in November. Want to be top at Christmas. Want to beat them on Boxing Day. Want to go ahead in January. Want to put the league table on the group. Want to hear them say, can they do it this year? Want to listen to their doubters. Want to prove them all wrong. Look them in the eye and say, want to bet? Bet Fred. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
Oh, Jamie's got a new car. He only passed his test last week. Chloe and the kids on the school run and their new hybrid, and the Flemings from 23 off to see their daughter at uni. Get car and van insurance that's right up your street at parkerscompare.com. Created by the experts at Parkers, we're 100% independent and dedicated to helping you find the right insurance policy. Quick and easy, you could compare quotes in just 5 minutes from some of the UK's leading providers. For car insurance comparisons you can trust, visit parkerscompare.com. Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. See website for details.
Scottish football's league leader. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Gordon Dalziel, Cammy Bell and Hugh Keevins here with me, Andrew Maclean, on Clyde One Super Scoreboard. Lots of action to come across Scotland this afternoon, but as always at this time, let's take a look back at some of the biggest talking points of the week. And there are some big ones, Hugh Keevins. If we start with the Nico Raskin situation, Russell Martin revealing yesterday that Nico Raskin would not be part of his squad today. That was after Kevin Thelwell said a couple of days prior that there would be some clear the air talks. Russell Martin says the situation is resolved, but Nico Raskin is still not part of the Rangers squad. Does that sound like resolved?
No. The situation is far from resolved. If you have a player of Raskin's quality, as I said, midweek he's playing beside Kevin De Bruyne. Saturday he can get a game against Hearts. So you have a player of that quality who is, David Friel tells us, not even at the ground today. Therefore the situation is far from resolved. But Russell Martin calls himself head coach, but he's essentially a manager who is demanding the right to manage. And he's saying, I interpret him as saying, I cannot have a disruptive influence in the dressing room, and Raskin must win the trust of his fellow players. Therefore, there's a big problem. But if Rangers fail to win for the 5th time in a row in the league today, the problem exacerbates, because the fans will say the team is better with Raskin in it than out of it. Therefore, the onus is very much on the sporting director, Kevin Thelwell, to direct and to get everyone around the table and find out if there is a resolution possible. Because if there's not, then Raskin will have to bide his time, be an unhappy source within the dressing room until January, and then Rangers must get rid of him.
We can only speculate as to what's gone on, Cammy, but Russell Martin saying yesterday that Nico Raskin has to win back the trust of his teammates, needs to win back the trust of the club staff and the people around the building as well. That was at least a bit of an insight into what Russell Martin seems to think has gone on.
Yeah, listen, it sounds as if it's been a serious situation. If you have to win back the trust of your teammates, being a player, I think that means it's got to have been a serious incident that's happened. I'm unsure what it is. Again, when I look from the outside in, for me, Nico Raskin's Rangers' best midfielder. Of course he is. He's a Belgian international, as Hugh says. He's playing with Belgium at this moment in time, and Rangers just need to be careful at this moment in time, because he's probably their biggest asset in the squad. if you manage that asset right, and if he is going to leave the club anytime soon, you can get maximum price for him. But all this negativity, all this dirty laundry that's getting aired out in the public isn't working well for his price tag if he was to leave the club anytime soon. But for me, it's about getting Nico Raskin back on the pitch, because I think that's what Rangers need. He is the best midfielder. He's the strongest player in there. I think he's a fantastic talent. Whether he's a difficult character to deal with or not, that's up to the management staff to deal with that. They should be able to deal with different characters, easy characters, difficult ones. No matter what's thrown at you, should be able to get the best out of each player. So it's a challenge for Russell Martin, because he's under pressure at the moment, and this just hypes to that pressure as well.
Yeah, David Frail, I think the easy option for Russell Martin would just have been to come back from the international break, included Nico Raskin in the squad, in terms of, you know, he's feeling pressure from supporters, and I think he'll probably hear that today as well, won't he?
Yeah, he will, Andrew, and that's what makes me think this is a kind of a bigger issue than it's maybe even been let on. You know, I think most Rangers fans out there will see this as a sort of black and white issue. Nico Raskin is their best midfielder. A lot of them think Nico Raskin's their best player, and they just feel that he should be in the team. But I thought his interview over in Belgium during that national break was quite interesting, because he spoke about a complicated situation and that it wasn't just up to him, which almost alluded to the fact that he felt there had to be a bit give and take from Russell Martin and the Rangers staff, and then to have talks and still be banished from the squad when Russell Martin knows that this is a real issue and he's been judged on that by the fans. I think it's a bold call, but it's obviously something Russell Martin feels really strongly for. As I said earlier on, Andrew, Rangers would have let Nico Raskin go yesterday. I think there was tentative inquiries maybe from Fenerbahce and Besiktas. Rangers at one point I think were even going to entertain a loan if it had been on the table. For whatever reason that didn't happen, but I think the fact he's not in the squad and that Rangers were willing to let him go yesterday speaks volumes for what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, how quickly does this now need to get resolved? I think Russell Martin was certainly asked that question yesterday. He said it is resolved, but from the outside looking in, with Nico Raskin not in the squad, how long can that continue where fans are annoyed about the situation? You've got potentially Rangers' biggest asset not playing week to week. How important is it for Russell Martin, for Rangers, for Nico Raskin, that there is some resolution that comes in quickly?
Right now, I am not confident that's the way it's going to go. When it happened, I thought there's always a way back for a player. You let everything settle down. Into the national break came at the right time for both of them. Get away, get a bit of distance, get back together, have that chat. He's come out resolved. It's not resolved. Let's be honest about it. If it was resolved, Raskin would be either on the bench or on a starting 11. I'm a great believer, no one is bigger than the club, right? This isn't a situation black and white for me, that the managers fell out with a player because he's had an opinion. I don't believe that for a minute, right? Because if you're a manager and you know the fans are against you at a club the size of Rangers, and the games that you've come up, you want your best players on the pitch, no matter if you like them or don't like them. So there's a massive problem in here, and the way things are going, I do not know if it's got to be resolved quickly.
In football, events shape the direction in which you travel. If Rangers were to drop points today, then the situation worsens for Russell Martin and the tension heightens, because the fans say, you leave out Raskin and we've now gone 5 games in a row without a win. Therefore, events will shape how that story develops.
Fraser Wishart, how do you see the way things have unfolded over the last couple of weeks?
Well, I think this happens a lot in football. You know, with my PFA Scotland hat on, we deal with these things routinely at football clubs. It happens. And now the window's closed and there's no get out for either side, there's no way that Nico can leave, then it needs to be resolved and resolved quickly. And sometimes footballers are winners, they're fiery people. Cammy and Gordon will have had that in them as well to make it to a good standard. So to make it that level, you've got to be fiery, and sometimes that boils over. But time's a great healer for me, and if Russell Martin's saying it's been resolved, perhaps, and I'm only saying perhaps, I'm not no knowledge of what actually went on, perhaps the sort of sanction, if you like, was right. Okay, it's resolved. I can't have it being said again, whatever happened, but I can't play you this week because I'm going to stick by the players that did well. The easy part of this is resolving the player situation. If there are players that are a wee bit unhappy with his behaviour, that happens. I played in the Rangers team a long time ago with John Brown and Ian Ferguson and Richard Gough, Alan McCoy. So I would fight with people every second week. But the senior players would have a word in each other's ears, and it would be solved very quickly within the dressing room. So I think if you take Russell Martin's word, he says resolved, And then you look at the player situation, because there's rumours, all sorts of things going on there. That can be resolved very quickly as well. And my view is this will be resolved very quickly, and he'll be back in the squad, because Nico can't be kicking his heels in the stand because he wants to play in the World Cup in the summer. The board won't want that because he's a big asset and his value drops, and he's an important player for Russell Martin on the pitch. So this will be resolved. Sometimes these things happen in football, but when you're a big club like Rangers, then things get played out in the media which don't get played out at other clubs.
Fraser, just picking up on a couple of things there, just quickly. I know what you're saying, and I think it should be resolved because he's your best player. But was this not a great opportunity for the manager to come out and say, look, it's resolved, why not put him on the bench? Why not go with a positive step and say, we're going forward here, we're starting to get that bond back together, he's on the bench, because the last
well, he
game
said he still
against
needs to earn the trust of his teammates and the staff. Is that not the reason?
I think that as well. I think that as well, though, Daz, that if you put him on the bench, it sends out a message that some of the damage has been repaired and they're on their way of moving forward from this situation, whereas he's not there. We're hearing he's not going to be at the stadium, so that's a negative as well. Again, I've been there as a player where I've been left out. I would still go to the game and make sure I was visually there and seeing that I was still supporting the team. So again, I think there's still a long way in this one to run.
Yes, there is indeed, and I'm sure we will take some calls on that from 5 o'clock onwards. I think Celtic and Rangers were both competing yesterday for the biggest story of the week, Hugh Keevins, and it was certainly a box office press conference from Brendan Rodgers, and the highlight of that was the comment about a cowardly anonymous member of staff who he feels is briefed against him to a newspaper.
This is a deeply disturbing matter. At a club of Celtic's size and Celtic's pre-eminence, they have won 13 of the last 14 league titles. Brendan Rodgers has brought incredible success to the club, and yet finds himself being briefed against by I'll say, high-ranking official at the club. Therefore, Celtic have a moral obligation, in my eyes, to begin a proper investigation into who leaked what and why. We have Brendan Rodgers' word for it that what was leaked was inaccurate, and that he at no stage was trying to engineer his exit from the club. Therefore, you have to find out who, why, and what happens next. And Brendan Rodgers again yesterday said that if the person is discovered, then the person has to resign. So it's a very, very serious matter for a club like Celtic, and someone, whether it's Michael Nicholson, the chief executive, whoever, someone has to instigate a proper investigation and end this matter by finding the person who briefed against the manager and taking the appropriate action.
Yeah, David Friel, how do Celtic move on from this? How do they negotiate this? Because you've got a manager who has been a very, very successful Celtic manager who has less than a year left on his contract, who is clearly unhappy with as Hugh says, likely a high-ranking official at the football club, and someone at the football club who is clearly also unhappy with Brendan Rodgers.
How do they move on? I actually asked Brendan Rodgers that question yesterday, Andrew, because after he delivered a press conference, you said it was box office, it was one of the most dramatic press briefings I've ever been in my life, 32 minutes, standing room only stuff. And I actually said that to him because within, obviously in the most dramatic way, he nailed the accusation that he was trying to engineer his exit, but on top of that he actually said he wants to stay for longer. It's his number one aim is to stay for longer and to find a resolution. But right at the end of the day, Brendan, everything you've said here today, it feels as if there's total disconnection. But he claims there can be a way out of it, and that he can remain as the Celtic manager beyond this season. That he said he was talking to Michael Nicholson yesterday. What subject matter he didn't say, but he said he was having a meeting with him after yesterday. I must admit, Andrew, I'll take Brendan Rodgers at his word that he does want to stay at Celtic. I just don't see it happening beyond this end of this season. I think it's broken between him and the hierarchy by the looks of it. And as Hugh was saying, the story last week, clearly there are people within the club who feel he did want out last week, and Brendan, as it was his right to reply yesterday, and he certainly did that. However, I just think beyond this end of this season they'll go their separate ways. At one stage Brendan did say that it may be that they just have different philosophies and outlook on what's best for Celtic and what way Celtic should go, and if that's the case, he'll accept it and move on. And my feeling is that's what will happen at the end of the season.
Whether it happens, David, at the end of the season or not, there are 34 league matches of this season left to be played by Celtic. They are going for the league title, the defence of their title. And Brendan Rodgers, if the person is found who leaked the story and the appropriate action is taken against that person, Brendan Rodgers must be given an apology by Celtic Football Club that this should happen, while he, as he said, has the weight of the club on his shoulders on a daily basis and is trying to win football matches. He must be given a suitable apology and allowed to negotiate the remainder of this season, and then we'll find out what his immediate future is. But right now, investigation, apology, and move on with the remainder of the season.
Do you not think that I totally take on board what you're saying, right? And it was a great story yesterday for the press and everything. Do you not think Celtic have got bigger problems just now to deal with? I know that has to be resolved, of course it has to, but they've got bigger problems. They've left themselves short with the quality players are brought in, their transfer market. But the highlight everything is they're having a 12-minute, obviously, protest tomorrow. That's against the board. I take on board with Brendan Rodgers. Listen, Brendan Rodgers played it very cleverly yesterday. Let's not get away from that. I think we all understand that. He named all the people he does got on with in the board, and left one or two out. So all of a sudden he's an experienced manager. If I was a Celtic fan, I don't like seeing that. You had a statement come out last week, nobody put their name to it, on a Saturday night at 9 o'clock, 9:20, whatever it may be.
8:42 for accuracy.
Okay, thanks, Hugh. I knew that, and I put you into that one.
Hugh knows because he was tucked up in bed at that point.
So apart from this thing about Brendan Rodgers, I think there are bigger problems at Celtic just now.
It just adds to it though, doesn't it?
I do realise that I'm compartmentalising here, and of course what's going on between the board and the fans is a very worrying situation for Celtic. However, here we have a major football club managed by someone who has brought that club inordinate success, invincible seasons, trebles, all of the other things that Brendan Rodgers has done for Celtic. And that manager is briefed against by someone within the club. It's a major story for the club, and the manager has to be treated properly here. Investigation, find out who did the leaking of the story, take the appropriate level of action, issue an apology to Brendan Rodgers, and then let's see what he can do.
You guys and David Frail, Roger Hanna, and let's not be kidded here, right? You've been in the game a long time. Everybody in football, managers, chief execs, chairmen, always use the press in such a way. We can get a wee story.
But you say always. See at the likes of Celtic or Rangers.
It happens. It happens.
But how often does this happen? Is this not a big story?
But Brendan Rodgers could easily be sitting and putting stuff out that he wants put out, right? The person that's leaked that story has done the exact same. Is it right? No, I agree with you, it's not right. But it's the industry that
I agree, but I think it's because it's came from that hierarchy at Celtic, and that's why it's such a big story, and it's directed at the Celtic manager. So again, that's why we've got this huge blockbuster story that we're talking about. But I totally agree with Daz that, listen, Celtic and Brendan Rodgers, yes, I agree with you that the investigation needs to go on behind the scene. They need to find out where it's leaked from. The apology needs to happen. I agree with all that, but they've got big problems on the pitch. They've got such a tough game tomorrow at Rugby Park that Brendan Rodgers needs to get his focus back on his team, back on his players, and make sure they continue the form that they've started the season with. Domestically, they've been good, but again, he knows how short they are.
But I think, Andrew, we're talking about the magnitude of what's going on. If it happened at Rangers, it would be equally big. This is a major football club, and the manager, someone has planted a story concerning the manager, saying that he's trying to work his ticket, to use a colloquialism. And the manager has said, absolutely untrue, and the person who did this should resign. It's the magnitude of the story. I understand what Gordon Dale is saying, that David and myself, we look at it from a journalistic perspective, as you do, Andrew. But it is nevertheless a major story, and then you sort out that problem, and then, of course, at the same time, you have to sort out the disconnect, the very, very serious disconnect between the Celtic supporters and the Celtic hierarchy.
Well, we'll have to leave that there, but remember, Celtic fans, you can have your say on that on the open line from 5 o'clock. Rangers fans, the same on what happens in your game and on the Nico Raskin situation. But we'll go back around the grounds next.
The winning team all season long. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Plenty of good games in the Scottish Premiership to look ahead to today. Rangers against Hearts, lots of talking points going into that one at Ibrox. The other 3 o'clock games: Aberdeen, Livingston, Dundee, Motherwell, Falkirk, St Mirren, and then later on at 5:45 it's Hibs against Dundee United, and then tomorrow Kilmarnock against Celtic at Rugby Park. Let's go back around the grounds and let's start at Dens Park. Dundee against Motherwell. Tom Grant, what are you sort of expecting from this game between these two teams?
Well, yeah, I mentioned, Andrew, just round about the 2 o'clock mark we had an absolute surge of rain, and I thought that would quicken up the pack, and we had another one during the warm-up there as well. So yeah, I'm hoping for two teams who are going to go in attack today. As I said, I mentioned when you came to me previously, the Motherwell manager Jens Bertolascu has talked about being too open and looking to tighten it up, but saying that, he has went with a three-pronged strike force. So yeah, I'm hoping for some goals. Both teams in desperate need of a win. Dundee second bottom, of course, and Motherwell 4 points for 4 games. So yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to see plenty of goals. Last time out when I did Partick Thistle Raith Rovers, I had 5 goals, so I'm hoping for more of that today. Yeah,
just looking at Motherwell's start to the season, Gordon Dalziel, fans are excited by the style of football. There's been a lot of positives so far, but really to kind of help things along, Jens Bertolascu will be desperate to get his first league win.
Yeah, it's been what you could say a mixed start, because if you look at the brand of football, the fans are loving it. They're coming out in their numbers. They'll be in their numbers at Dens today. Let's not be kidded with that. But 4 draws, tough fixtures.
Yeah,
right. Okay, we can look at the fixtures: Rangers, Hearts, St Mirren, teams like that. But in Kilmarnock at home today against a struggling Dundee team down there, I think this is a tricky one for them, because I think they get into this game and I think the boys will probably at 3 o'clock back Dundee to lose and Motherwell to win this. I'm a bit concerned about Motherwell this afternoon, but I love the brand of the football. He won't change, rightly so. There's a good squad there. They're away from home. Difficult game for me today.
This is a good game for them though. I know it's a difficult game, but I think this is the one that you'll be looking at. They've been in decent form. You mentioned the fixtures they've had. The Rangers one, that was the first one that you kind of got a feeling for the way they were going to play. Took a lot of risks, but they've certainly improved since then. The Hearts game where they were 3-0 up and then obviously get pegged back. But I think they'll look at this game and think this is one we can go up there. It's a Dundee team that I think will struggle this season. I really do.
Cammy, Motherwell are not good when they're favourites of games, and that's why we've got off to such a terrific start.
You haven't been favourites since James McFadden played for you.
Yeah, but we're favourites today. I think everybody looking at that would be thinking Motherwell will win. Look, if they play their football, take their chances, yes, but you rightly said they're 3-0 up at Tynecastle, playing the best football that Motherwell fans have seen in decades. Brilliant they were, and they lost 3 goals.
Yep. Tom Grant brought us a terrific stat. Dundee, 1 home win in 2025. 9 months.
Right, okay.
1 home win.
Right, but I'll get back to one thing, right? A one-off game here. Dundee went to Rangers, and I know that people are saying Rangers aren't very good now at Ibrox. They still went to Rangers, and I think everybody in here thought this is the first 3 points for Russell Martin. Let's be honest, that's in the bag. We all predicted a home win. Didn't happen. Dundee put in a good performance.
When you mention that though, Dundee can't go and set up today the way they did at Ibrox. So again, is it when you look that I think Dundee have to come out at Motherwell, which I think will help Motherwell in this fixture.
Okay, you've shot down my argument, so I'm back in Motherwell to go and win it comfortably.
Let's take a look at Falkirk against St Mirren. It is a 400th game as a manager for Stephen Robinson, which is quite a milestone, isn't it, Fraser?
It is, and it shows the experience he's got, and I think he's quite a calm character behind the scenes, but he can be certainly very vocal at the side of the pitch. But he knows what he's doing, he knows his formation, Andrew, and he knows the way he wants to play. And every summer when he loses a player, he just signs a very similar player to play exactly the same way, and the team just keeps functioning. And over the last 3 years, of course, they've been in the top 6. They had a wee spell in Europe as well. But I think it's a tricky one for St Mirren today, because Falkirk will come real confidence from that victory against Aberdeen. They came up from the League One to the Championship, then the Championship up in 2 successive seasons, but virtually with the same team. And I think the town has backed Falkirk hugely. I mean, the away stand is more than 50% full of Falkirk fans, so huge number of season tickets as well. But I think there's a wee bit of trepidation to say, can these players do it again? And I signed Brian Graham and one or two others, but he's gone down south, John Maclean, to sign some young players on loan from English clubs. Now, young lads, as we know, whether they're from England or Scotland or wherever they are, they're inconsistent. So can these guys handle playing at this level? So tricky one for St Mirren, because I know the way that Falkirk play. They'll knock it around, they'll try and get the ball wide, they'll try and use their pace as well. But as I said, that might just suit St Mirren. St Mirren are experienced. You said 400 games under Stephen Robinson. People know how he plays as well, and he's got players that are very comfortable in that midfield. Phillips, O'Hara, Bacchus, they will all like to break forward as well. So I think there's going to be goals here today. St Mirren have only scored 2 in their 4 league games, so they'll need to obviously do much better, but I think they'll get a number of chances against Falkirk. I think this one could end up in a 2-2 draw.
Aberdeen at home to Livingston, one of the new signings that's in the lineup from the off today, Cammy, Jesper Karlsson, who looks like a real coup for Aberdeen. You look at his time at AZ Alkmaar. What's happened there?
I'll tell you what, I hope the Aberdeen fans think he's going to perform better than a coup.
C-O-U-P? That's how you...
I thought he says coup.
That's why I said coup.
I know, but it's the
I genuinely was wondering what on earth I'd said there.
In Aberdeen, coup means something else.
Okay. Looks like a real capture, I'll say, Cammy. At AZ Alkmaar, 124 games, 46 goals, 33 assists, was a real consistent performer in the Eredivisie. Got a move to Bologna, didn't quite work out there, but maybe looks the level of player that Aberdeen don't tend to shop in.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, when you see him sign and you look at his stats and where he's been previously, the money that he's been bandied about him, he's a top player, and it's a player that, yes, you probably were a little bit surprised he ends up at Aberdeen, but yeah, I think he's going to be a real good signing. Certainly the other two, Nisbet and Stuart Armstrong as well, I think are going to be right good signings going forward. I think they've really strengthened. The window's been really good. It's just the results in the league so far. So today's a massive.
Right, I've got to give you a little bit of information. I know how he ended up at Aberdeen.
Go on then.
Because Lewis Ferguson, his teammate, convinced him that Aberdeen, good club, good city, everything about it, right? And he took advice from Lewis Ferguson to go to Aberdeen.
You would almost imagine that you've been speaking to Lewis Ferguson's dad.
Hold on. I've got more.
Go on.
And the reason that Lewis convinced him so much was he's bought his house.
I love how some people, it's tough to work out who their source is, and there's a lot of questions, whereas with Gordon Dalziel you just work it out straight away.
He made the mistake of telling me before the programme started that he'd been with Derek Ferguson during the week. That was Lewis's dad.
Let's quickly go back to Ibrox, David Frail. A lot of talk about Nico Raskin in the build-up to this, but in terms of the actual football, how do you see this one? Do you think that Rangers will stylistically look similar to how they played against Celtic? There was a change, they were more direct, or do you think it'll be back to what we're used to seeing from Russell Martin?
No, I think that was a one-off, Andrew, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Russell Martin realised he just had to get a result of some description against Celtic by any means necessary, and he did that. He did change up his style. I think he'll go back to what he's been doing before that. Obviously the line-up is exactly the same, but I think he'll maybe look for a bit more football out from the back. But that's going to be hard against the Hearts team. As I say, they're quite progressive, they've got a lot of pace, and Braga and Kizaridis alongside Lawrence Shankland in that front line. And I just think it's going to be a fascinating game. I think it's going to be a really good game. We've seen a lot of Hearts this season. They score a lot of goals. I think they've got 27 goals in 9 games so far this season. Rangers, we know they've had some defensive frailties. I think that's putting an understatement so far this season. But I think it's about time that guys like Mikey Moore and everything really come to the fore for Rangers. We were speaking, there's a lot of players away on national duty, but others have had the chance to get on the training pitch with Russell Martin. He's put faith in quite a lot of them, a lot of new signings. And it's time they started to 11 wins. For Rangers to be at the 5th game of the league season and not yet record a win is quite remarkable. There's a huge crowd here. I spoke earlier, and the place is nearly packed already, and it's an expectant crowd. We'll keep an eye, keep an ear in the Nico Raskin stuff if any chance start, but I think the fans will clearly get behind the team on the pitch. But this is going to be a tough test think Rangers need to just start winning games, but Hearts are coming here full of confidence. Derek McInnes, he wants 3 points today. He wants to go top of the league. He wants to go 9 points ahead of Rangers. So huge pressure on Russell Martin's side, and it's time they started delivering.
Kick-off around the grounds next.
Action as it happens, and your reaction from 5 on the open line. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Gordon Dalziel, Cammy Bell and Hugh Keevins here with me, Andrew Maclean, and the games are getting underway in the Scottish Premiership and all across the country. Rangers against Hearts at Ibrox, Aberdeen, Livingston, Dundee, Motherwell and Falkirk St Mirren is your offering at 3 o'clock today.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy. Get set for the season with expert pharmacy support.
Right, should we get some predictions from you three to kick things off? Let's start with you, Hugh Keevins.
Rangers to beat Hearts, St Mirren to win at Falkirk, Motherwell to win at Dundee, and tonight Hibs to beat Dundee United at Easter Road.
I tell you what, let's not do Hibs Dundee United because that's the 5:45 kick-off, and instead let's do Aberdeen Livingston, shall we?
Okay. Aberdeen to beat Livingston and get their first points of the season.
Go on, Cammy.
Aberdeen to beat Livingston, I'll start there. I'm going to go Rangers win at Ibrox, much needed. I am going St Mirren away to Falkirk, and a draw for Dundee against Motherwell.
I'm going, here it is, and you've heard it exclusively, and I struggled to say that word there. Aberdeen, home win. Dundee, home win. St Mirren, away win. Rangers and Hearts, a draw.
Okay, right, we will see how those pan out throughout the afternoon, and I think there is an early corner to Motherwell, so we'll see if that comes to anything, and it does not come to anything at all. It'll be interesting to see. David Friel will be on Nico Raskin watch.
Oh yeah,
I think in terms of not him but the chance they could well come early.
The longer this situation goes on, of course, people begin to go into two different camps, some in favour of Russell Martin, some in favour of Nico Raskin. Results will determine. If Rangers drop anything today, the Nico Raskin camp gets bigger. If Rangers win today, the head coach's camp gets bigger and the players' power diminishes. So all shaped by who wins.
You wonder the situation there, right? We're getting reports that he's not at the game. He may be at the game and nobody's seen him, right? Which is very unlikely. Why would you not turn up?
No.
Is it because maybe the staff have said, look, rather than concentrating you, we'd rather concentrate on you?
So that'd be the only reason that I think he's not at the game, if you've been told to stay away. Because I just feel like if you were trying to repair this, yes, it's out in the open, it's in the public, everyone's talking about this situation, you would go there and sit in the stand and support your teammates. Whether the manager wants you down and around about the changing room's a different matter. You can always go up the stairs and sit in the stand and just watch the game, take it in, you're visually there. People would be taking pictures of you because you're
big
there.
Chance early for Hearts. It was a free kick wide on the right. They packed the box as well, and Craig Halkett got up but headed over an early opportunity at Ibrox.
Oh, that's the last thing Rangers would need, the last thing Russell Martin would need, and the last thing the crowd would need. So David Friel reckoned that Hearts had come in the mood to go for it. They have an appalling record against Rangers, 11 years without a win at Ibrox, and very few wins at Tynecastle for that matter. So Derek McInnes, he's looking to take advantage of Rangers' situation whereby the crowd are not sure whether they support a player or the head coach. So he's made a positive start, but Tony Docherty and Callum Davidson haven't made a positive start. They're a goal down. Ross County a goal down at Ayr already.
Much needed goal for Scott Brown as well, because Ayr haven't started well, so he would have been under pressure if it doesn't go that way, their way.
Yeah, big goal for there. They need to get their season up and running. It'll be a difficult game, but great start for them after 2 minutes. Unprofessional.
Yeah, but well, Tony Dock and Callum Davidson, it's not what they need. I mean, Ross County lost last week to Arbroath.
Yep.
So
at home as well, wasn't it? Yep.
Yeah. So they need to get moving in a more positive direction.
As you'd expect, Motherwell seeing most of the ball in the way that they play at the moment against Dundee, playing it out from the back, just not able to create any chances thus far. For Hearts, it actually looks as if it's a back four, and Harry Milne is playing wide of a midfield four, so it's more of a 4-4-2 than a 3-4-3 than it looked initially.
Yeah, well, he's certainly going to attack. He's got attacking players, he's got very good options. He's got a big squad there. They've invested well. They've got off to a good start, sitting up there 10 points with Celtic. Probably the best time to go to Ibrox with the confidence levels that Hearts have got. Be interesting to see what they produce this afternoon.
Scott Allen in trouble.
Another chance for Hearts. Lawrence Shanklin with a shot that's been saved low. It was from the edge of the box, and Jack Butland has had to be alert for that one.
I think David Free will be hearing the sound of rumbling.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, Hugh. There'll be rumblings from the Rangers fans. There'll be concerns and from the stands festering onto the pitch. So yeah, they'll need to get a grip of that game.
Edinburgh City 1, East Kilbride 0. Allen must go.
James Stokes with the goal for Edinburgh City. I think there's already a few grumbles at Ibrox, which isn't great when Russell Martin has been sitting yesterday in his press conference and saying that he feels they've hit the reset button over the international break, and he's hoping that they can really start their season now. And from what David Friel's telling us, Hearts are really on the front foot.
Well, they obviously feel that they could take advantage of the current situation at Ibrox. I'm surprised to a certain extent, Andrew. I thought Majowski, I think he's a terrific striker for our league, the Premiership. He's a proven striker in the Premiership, and I thought he would make the difference today. Early days yet, but they're going to have to weather an early storm.
A couple of decent free kick opportunities, one for Motherwell, who have one from the corner of the penalty box. Looks like it's going to be a cross rather than a shot. For Hearts, it's a free kick at the angle of the box. James Tavernier taking down Claudio Braga, so another chance for Hearts to get into that Rangers box, potentially have a shot on goal.
Well, Braga, you know, the fans love him, cult hero. We did suspect that the loss of Frankie Kent at the back and the Ajew up front might diminish Hearts' chances, but doesn't look that way.
Yeah, they've been. Russell Martin spoke yesterday about what he expected from Hearts. He expected them to get the ball forward quickly, be on the front foot. Certainly looks as if it's working out that way so far for Derek McInnes.
Why not? I think the days that you go to, you know, places like Ibrox and you park the buses, it's a well-known phrase in Scottish football, are gone. I think you got an opportunity to go, and we're touching on it there, turn the crowd. The minute you can hear those rumblings coming from the stands, you've got to have a big character. Cammy's been there occasionally, Fraser once or twice, but you've got to have big characters to go and stand up for that.
The problem is they came in a bad mood.
Yeah,
you know, the Rascan situation has left them in an undecided mood, and they've come in that frame of mind, and then all of a sudden it's all Hearts, and therefore the tension rises.
This is why I think it's so important for Rangers to start controlling games. Under Russell Martin, I've watched them a number of times this season, and they don't control games for long enough periods. They allow the opposition to get their tails up, they allow the opposition opportunities, and again, you've touched on it, Andrew. Hearts in the first 10 minutes have had 2 or 3 opportunities already. How many opportunities have Rangers give up defensively this season? And for me, it's because they don't have control of the game enough.
A concern for Derek McInnes, because that challenge from James Tavernier on Claudio Braga that led to the free kick. Braga now looks to be toiling. He's getting some treatment, so we'll be hoping that he is okay to continue.
That's a triple whammy then. You've lost Frankie Kent, you've lost Ajew up front, and if you lose Braga, it gets harder and harder. Allen must stay, incidentally. It's now Edinburgh City 1, East Kilbride 1.
Yeah, John Robertson, what a start to the season he's having. He scored from the spot. It is 1-1 in that game, and as there is a break in play at Ibrox with Claudio Braga down, it means that the chants from the Rangers supporters are for one player,
Nico Rascan.
Yes.
Well,
right, since there is a break in play, should we do this, Hugh?
Yeah.
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
Short and sweet. In the last 6 games between Rangers and Hearts, there have been 5 different Rangers players to score. Name them. Last 6 games between Rangers and Hearts, 5 different Rangers players have scored. Who are they?
That should be easy enough. I think people out there will get. Remember, it is a race. You want to get yourself on the podium, so get your answers in at Clyde SSB, and you could be on the podium for that. You two can get thinking across there as well.
That's quite easy. We'll take your time, that one. I've got 4 already. Maybe.
Let's take a look what is happening at Ibrox. The last we heard were those Nico Raskin chants. Loud, very loud, according to David Friel.
Well, therefore the fans have spoken. They are on the side of the player and not the side of the head coach. So this has got to pick up today, because the mood only lightens if Rangers win the match. A draw is 5 draws in a row. No. Cammy, you know how that goes.
It's not
down.
good enough. And again, yes, I've got a lot of friends who are Rangers fans, and they are on the Nico Raskin side, purely because I think he's proven himself at Rangers, whereas Russell Martin at this moment in time, for me, we're all last few weeks we've been speaking, is he going to keep his job? Is he a long-term answer for Rangers? A lot of people don't think that is a yes to them questions. So I think that he needs to get a result today, Russell Martin. He needs to win the game. As Hugh says, another draw is not good enough.
JD Gassama is down now getting treatment, so it's a bit stop-start in the opening stages now.
Or off?
I think he is back on. I've not had confirmation, but there's certainly not been. He's back on. He is fine.
Just a slight knock. We've all had them.
Yeah. How did you yours?
Oh, through life, Hugh. Through life. Nothing to do with football, just through life.
He's gone philosophical. Talk about something else.
Forfar have a 2-0 lead against Dumbarton. It is Jake Dolzanski who has put them 2-0 up just 11 minutes into that game, whereas there is a free kick for Dundee from the left wing, floated in by Jan Danda. We'll see if that comes to anything in that Dundee Motherwell game. Not too much, I think, has happened so far between Aberdeen and Livingston in that game. I think Aberdeen fans may have a bit of optimism, despite the fact that the season hasn't gone to plan at all so far. The deadline day that they had can certainly be seen as a positive.
Without doubt. However, it's only a positive if you start to win matches. And I think we're 13 minutes past 3 now. In a little while, the rumbling will start at Pittodrie as well.
Well, they need a result. They need a result. His record just now, I'll tell you what, for me, the Scottish Cup saved him. His record is dreadful. And let's not be kidded here. He's been backed. You can't fault the Aberdeen board and everyone up there concerned with the finances. He's been backed. He has to start producing. I think the window's been good. I really do. He's brought in 3 good players, good experienced players as well, goal scorer on top of that. So he really has to get off and running this afternoon.
With the greatest respect to Falkirk, for them to go, the promoted club, to go to Pittodrie and win. I'm told the crowd was pretty restive, the Aberdeen crowd pretty restive by the end of that one. So Daz is right, the cup final, you get out of jail and then some, because Celtic were awful and Aberdeen were awful, and it went to a penalty shootout where Aberdeen were terrific and Celtic continued to be awful.
It's interesting because they had that League Cup game, and I think we were in here, and they beat Morton 3-0, and I thought that'd be a difficult away tie to them. And when they won that 3-0, I thought, this is going to kick-start their season, because I genuinely think they've had a really good window. They've brought in good players, and they've just not been able to make it gel, not work, get results. Again, you look at the Falkirk game, circumstances, Devlin gets sent off towards the end of the first half. So this is such an important game for Aberdeen, because the chairman's backed him, he's gave him money, he's spent a lot of money in this window to go and get players of a quality, so he's got to start getting results on the pitch.
Yeah, he doesn't really have many excuses now, Jimmy Tilleen, when you look at the players that were brought in late in the window. Kevin Nisbet, who scored plenty of goals last season. We touched earlier on Jesper Karlsson as well. Stuart Armstrong on the bench today for Aberdeen as well.
One of my favourite players. I found him at Celtic Park that day. I'll never forget it. Years ago when I played with Dundee United, and I called it after 20 minutes on Radio Clyde. I got down history for the best prediction ever. He was magnificent that day for Dundee United.
Had he already made about 100 appearances for Dundee United by this point?
No, not quite the 100. I think he was up in the 80s. But good signings, Andrew. And the most important thing for a team is See if he can get a goal scorer in. And Nisbet's been there, he's scored goals, he's comfortable, he's nothing really to prove. So there's no excuses for Aberdeen to get off the bottom of the table.
Other than the fact that Livingston are a pest. Home or away, they're just a pest.
It's a story of the brothers today as well. They're not all on the pitch though. There's Tete Yenge and Cassini Yenge, of course, up against each other, and then Andrew and Graham Shinney as well. It's quite a nice story. Two sets of brothers against each other.
But I have to say there must be a better striker available for Aberdeen than Yenge. I'm sorry, but
he's not for you here.
He looks woeful.
Kevin Nisbet.
Of course,
you got a brother?
Yeah.
Does he play football?
No, he doesn't play.
I thought it was maybe Doogie Bell or something like that.
His middle name's Doogie, actually.
There you go.
What about his uncle, Rabsy?
Who's Rabsy Bell?
Rabsy Nisbet.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Cammy Bell as well.
I was thinking, how's the link in me with Rabsy Nisbet?
No, I was wondering.
You're suffering from life's knocks today.
Oh, brilliant.
Another new signing towards the end of the window, Alexander Schwolo, Hearts goalkeeper, who's made plenty of Bundesliga appearances as of the 13th minute, according to David Friel. Hadn't had to touch the ball at Ibrox.
Well, interesting, the team selection there, as David highlighted. I think it's the classic example of a manager, and certainly a manager as experienced as Derek McInnes, looks at a guy who's played in the Bundesliga, sees him in training and think, I'm going to go with him at Ibrox because he'll have that big game mentality. But the fact he hasn't touched the ball yet is more of a worry for the Rangers fans than Derek McInnes.
Yeah, very much. The pressure is still all coming from Hearts on Rangers, so you wonder what the atmosphere will be like at Ibrox. As David Friel said earlier on, those chants for Nico Raskin were loud. They sort of dipped away at one point and then came back quite loud again, so the supporters are making their feelings known. Yeah,
that's what happens when player goes against manager. Look, if Russell Martin had started the season brilliantly, I don't think the chants are going round Ibrox Stadium this afternoon, I've got to say.
You're right.
But unfortunately, that's the way it is. Look, I like Raskin. I think he's a top player. He played in the Rangers team last year and never won anything. I'm getting a little bit confused here that I'm thinking, is it Paul Gascoigne they're missing here? They're talking such high regards about this guy. He is a good player.
I think he's a real influence when he plays with Rangers. I genuinely do.
He only started playing round about the February-March last season for me. He had a good finish to the season. I thought he was excellent. I'm a fan. I think he is good. But
he's better than anybody they've got on the pitch in that position.
Yeah, but he's not going to be the massive difference for me that's going to turn Rangers into this top team. I think. No,
right. I agree.
I know what you're saying, that he is better in the Midland Park, but Raskin, remember, has been involved in this Rangers team that won absolutely nothing.
But remember, though, the only thing that is going to change the complexion of this story, the only thing, is if Rangers win matches, and they have to start today. They've got Hibs next week in the Cup, which is a real test of them. The Raskin chant will not die away unless you're winning, so they'll only get louder.
And what will happen is the Raskin shouts get louder, and the Martin to leave the club shouts get louder as well if they don't win here today. So the pressure just absolutely builds on Russell Martin.
And an Athletic 0, Clyde 1, James Hilton on the score sheet, and Coventry 0, Norwich 1. Wouldn't normally mention that, but the goal scorer Matthias Kvistgaarden, who was linked with Celtic for a long time.
Well, most of the world has been linked with Celtic and we never end up there. That's why the fans have a problem.
Hugh, should we take a look at that teaser again? One thing I will say, Stuart's inquiry, it's not 6, it's 7, so change that on your sheet.
Alright,
and I will write down who the other one is.
Well, 7 different scorers.
Yes.
I started out with 5.
Okay, there's 7 instead of 5 then.
Yeah. Right.
I was just told there was 7. Right. I assumed it was 6 on the sheet, but it must be 7 instead of 5.
I beg your pardon, there are 6 on the sheet, but the question says 5. However, moving on, in the last 6 games between Rangers and Hearts, there have been 7. I said 7. One more than 6. There have been 7 different scorers for Rangers. Who are they?
So if you've only tweeted us 5, or you've only tweeted us 6, it's 7.
Give it 5 minutes and I'll be up to 8.
I believe it has now been changed on Twitter as well,
Right.
so you can go and see that. Rangers with their first bit of pressure after a loose pass out by the new goalkeeper Swallow for Hearts, but JD Kasama fluffs a good chance. It was a total mishit from the winger.
I gave him a big build up, the German goalkeeper. Bundesliga, great experience. The first time the ball's at his feet, he fluffs it.
Are you surprised he's straight in? Xander Clark hasn't had the best start to the season. There's obviously Craig Gordon still getting back from injury.
If I were Xander Clark, and I'll defer to my colleague here, Cammy Bell, but if I were Xander Clark, I would think, what? He's getting to play against Rangers at Ibrox, and I'm just bombed out.
Did it ever happen to you, Cammy?
Oh, get bombed out?
No, but a new goalkeeper come in and you get bombed out right away for him.
No, not right away.
Can I ask why then?
Should have done plenty of times. No, but I think on this situation, obviously the new goalkeeper's become available. Derek's looked at his goalkeeping situation, probably with one eye on, not knowing what's going to happen with Craig Gordon. He's got a quality, certainly looks like an experienced quality goalkeeper in the German guy, and Xander's not had the best starts to the season, so it's opened the door for the manager to make that decision when you're not at the top of your form. But again, it's worrying for Xander probably, because I know Craig Gordon during midweek got part of a reserve game, so he is getting close to getting back his fitness back, so Xander could find himself third choice.
Yeah. Tell me
and
this,
he's in the Scotland squad.
Tell me this, the goalkeeper, first thing he has to do, and he fluffs it, has he got caught up in a kind of nervous situation? I mean, after all, a stadium with 50,000 capacity, full. Has he got a bit nervous?
Yeah, no, possibly. Again, I think he could.
I'll stop you there, Cammy.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Rangers 0, Hearts 1, and it's Lawrence Shankland with the opener at Ibrox. Braga plays him in, and it is a brilliant finish from the Scotland international. Hearts have the lead.
The rumbling now takes in grumbling, and the Rascan chants get louder. But forget Rascan, forget all other considerations. Rangers started today with no league wins after 4 matches. In their 5th game, at home, they are now a goal down. And Russell Martin had better realise the enormity of the task he has now. They cannot come off of that park at 5 o'clock tonight having lost, I'll give you my own phrase, a draw's a disaster, a defeat's a catastrophe. He's now somewhere between a disaster and a catastrophe.
Well, remember after the Celtic game, Russell Martin said that he didn't hear the Nico Raskin chants.
Yeah.
I think, according to David Friel, he's going to hear the boos that are ringing around Ibrox after that goal, and he's going to hear the chants that are specifically telling him where to go.
Oh dear. Now that adds another dimension to the story, because, you know, he's a manager living a game-to-game existence.
I think what's happened though, again, listen, the frustrations have always been there from Russell Martin, for the fans on Russell Martin, but again, they've got that result against Celtic, the draw. It kind of de-escalated it a little bit for some fans, but not all fans. And then we've had the international break, but this is it live again. It's a really poor start for Rangers, and as Hugh said, this could be hugely damaging for Russell Martin, and certainly what we've heard of the way the games went, it sounds as if Hearts have absolutely deserved it.
I go back to it. Big characters are needed now if you're in that blue jersey, because you hear that as much as you're hearing it against your manager. You know some of it's for you, and you've got to start producing. But we've heard the sort of comments coming in from David that Hearts have started well, and obviously they've capitalised, and everybody says that. If you get chances at Ibrox or Parkhead, you've got to take them. You've got to put pressure on the home side, and that man Shankland.
But we know Hearts have got firepower. We spoke about it. They've scored a lot of goals this season so far. Braga's got his goals. Shankland, we know, can score goals in Scottish football. He's done it at Ibrox before. So yes, listen, they are a threat going forward, and it'll be interesting, as you say, characters, reaction. Everything is needed from the Rangers players between now and the half-time whistle.
Well, you've got the second most expensive player in Rangers history sitting on the bench, Chermity. and come the second half, if the score is still as it is at the moment, I think he's going to have to get on and earn his corn straight away.
There could just be a very awkward situation that happens at Rangers, because Russell Martin has come out and said, under no uncertain terms, he feels he has the full backing of the Rangers board. He's talked about Andrew Kavanagh coming in, explaining to the players the vision that he's got for the club, the fact that, you know, he wants to stick to that. They all want to move forward together. But if you're getting to games and fans are booing, they're chanting against the manager, they're not happy with the manager's decision making in terms of the players, how long can that continue to go on for?
Forget that nonsense. That is nonsense for me. The managers and chairmen and the chief execs come out and back the manager. We've heard it a million times. We've seen it a million times. Fan power does work, right? I'm not saying it should, but if this continues, if Russell Martin had to lose today and get put out the cup with Hibs, I think you would hear a different tune coming out of Ibrox. See, just now, look, I don't want any manager to get this. I've been in the shoes, I've been management, and I know what like it is to come under pressure. It's not nice, and your weekends are absolutely spoiled. But I've got to say, I just don't feel the fit with Russell Martin and Rangers just now. He needs a big turnaround for me.
What surprises me, and should be of concern to the Rangers hierarchy, is that the chanting against the manager starts 20 odd minutes into the game. No one is giving him the benefit of the doubt. You know, they can come back here, they can plenty of time to restore parity, go in front, whatever. But it started immediately, a chain reaction, a spontaneous outpouring of bile against the manager.
Do you know why that is, Hugh, as well? Is it the frustration that's around the whole club? But I don't think the Rangers fans this season have seen anywhere near enough good performances. Whether we're breaking it down to 30 minutes in a game, you'd be lucky if you could put together one full 90 minutes of a good performance from Rangers. We're talking, and including the European games, you're talking 10 games. They've hardly had a good performance. So again, when you go behind and you've started the game poorly, it sounds like Hearts have started the game, been on top of Rangers, had the opportunities. There's no evidence to tell you that Rangers are going to get back into this game.
See, to be fair, Cammy, I'm not just saying this, right? I feel like you've got every evidence, because I can see it in your phone. Where did you get that?
But anyway, but it's a very, very serious situation developing, and as St Johnstone take a lead over Wraith Rovers.
Yeah, Damas Sidibe scoring for St Johnstone away to Wraith Rovers, so St Johnstone 1-0 up in that game. St Mirren coming on to a game as well, away at Falkirk. Half chances for Ayunga and Killian Phillips as well, who are trying to cause some problems.
St Johnstone 1 up, and in the passing, I watched Partick Thistle last night. I tuned in at 70 minutes played, and they were a goal down to Airdrie, and the last 20 minutes they were outstanding. Dan O'Reilly equalising, Alex Samuel scoring the winner. So well done, Mark Wilson. He won't hear us today.
He's on the boat going up the Loch Lomond. How that guy lives life, innit?
I know, life in the fast lane.
Yeah, he phoned me up and says he's coming to celebrate my stag and future, then looking forward to the wedding and stuff. I was so excited. I'm not going. But
anyway,
there's not a chance of my turning up in the West End tonight.
Fair play to them though, Thistle last night. They came back and they were worthy winners in the end, so fair play. But St Johnstone, good chance of moving above Partick Thistle tonight, so we'll see what happens there. But back to Ibrox, half an hour in now, and Cammy, you know the place. It's now a cauldron.
Oh yeah, and you mentioned it before, Daz, that you've got to have a big character when you're behind at Ibrox with everything that's going on. And the players obviously, listen, you read social media, you read the papers, you read the news, so you know there's a lot of noise around the club at this moment in time. So it's big characters that are needed, and it'll be interesting to see if they can handle it, because this, don't get me wrong, we can't get away. Hearts are a good team. Hearts are a decent team. They've had a very good start to the season. Derek McInnes wants them to be competitive this season, and they're certainly showing they can do that.
Diamandes had a shot blocked, so it's going to be a corner to Rangers. See if they can get anything from that. To dispel any rumours, Nico Raskin is at Ibrox. Right. He is in the stand.
That's good news.
He is watching on.
Yep.
Right, so the situation hasn't reached a critical stage then. When they're not even turning up for games, then it's critical. But I think it's vital for Rangers that they get something back before half-time, because otherwise the half-time whistle means the spontaneous reaction again, the spontaneous negative reaction.
Could David Frill confirm that when the Rangers fans are singing Raskin's name, he's joining in? Because I see if that was me, I'd be up standing, clapping and singing as loud as I possibly could.
Nico Raskin's been pictured in the stand at Ibrox. Someone else has been pictured at Ibrox today as well. It means nothing to me, Gordon Dalziel.
Yeah,
Someone said it might mean something to you.
Yeah.
Bonnie Blue.
Oh no, I have no idea who that is.
Right, we'll just leave that there.
Well, I'll be down there at half time, let me tell you.
That Rangers corner was cleared coincidentally, so no danger from that one.
Well, I repeat, they really have to get something by half time, because the noise level will rise and the unhappiness rises, and it just creates the start of a messy situation. So they have to give the crowd something to be optimistic about before half time.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Dundee 0, Motherwell 1. Tawanda Maswanise, a brilliant solo effort. He is on fire this season, and it's continuing today at Dens Park. He's given Motherwell the lead.
Well, Dundee, one win at home in 2025 so far. The misery continues, but if you're capable of being 3 up at Tynecastle and still not winning the match, then Motherwell will accept that being 1 up in Dundee does not guarantee them anything. But again, it's good for them and the Dundee crowd, who didn't want Stephen Presley as manager in the first place. They'll be joining the rumbling club as well.
They certainly are, because Tom Grant tells us some boos from the home end from Dundee fans after that goal went in, as East Kilbride turned things around against Edinburgh City. Cammy Elliott with the goal, and they're 2-1 up against Edinburgh City.
Alan must stay. But meanwhile up the road from Dundee, nothing. A bit odd.
A bit surprising, but you said it, Hugh. Livingston, we know what they're all about. David Martindale and Big Marv, they're set up well, they're stuffy to beat, and that'll be a nervous afternoon for Aberdeen.
It'll be an interesting atmosphere up there as well, because the longer that game's on, the frustration will be building at Pittodrie. But as you say, Jimmy Tilleen would probably just take a 1-0 sneak win today, for sure, just to bring confidence into the camp.
Yeah, no shots on target for either team. Aberdeen have had a few openings, probably looked the better side so far, but no goals in that game, as you mentioned.
You know, to be the better side so far, you know, the Aberdeen fans are looking for something more substantial than that. You know, they're looking for they've got players brought in the summer window who have excited the crowd, and it's like Rangers. Players are coming in, £8 million players, etc., and the crowd, far from being stimulated, are on the verge of revolt.
What would worry me, Hugh, was the start that Andrew said there. Aberdeen at home, 34 on the clock with the new players against Livingston. No disrespect, no shots on target.
Yeah.
Not good enough. It's not good enough.
And they'll be letting Jimmy Tilleen know about it, you know, because Dave Cormack, the owner of the club, has backed Jimmy Tilleen to the hilt. And what's he getting back for it? They have 0 points so far.
And again, off the back of that cup win, they want to build momentum throughout the club. So the fans, obviously, it's such an iconic win for them, but you want to build momentum on that. So it was important that they started the season well for me, that you get all the fans here, the crowds are up, everyone's interested in the football club, and that's where the chairman will be looking at generating more money to invest in the team. So he really needs to start winning on the pitch.
Just on that Tawanda Maswanise goal, that could be a big one for Motherwell, because a lot of good feeling around the club, but if they manage to go on and get that win, that just sort of elevates everything to the next level, doesn't it? If they're able to play like this, go and get those wins, as well as being unbeaten in the first 4 league games of the season.
You know, I give the manager every credit, because he took over from Michael Vimmer, who lasted 12 games, and he comes in and the usual reaction is, who's he? But they begin with a draw against Rangers, and before anyone says it, everyone gets a draw against Rangers,
except that
so far. But I think he's a credit to himself and to the club, because they play a brand of football that's entertaining, and at the moment they're getting their reward.
That's an important thing, Hugh. I think that for the first time in a long time, there's a manager come in brave enough at a team like Motherwell and decided, that's my philosophy, I'm going to demand the players. I had the privilege of driving in here with Stephen O'Donnell, who kindly picked me up last week, and he was chatting and talking about the training, talking about the different attitude of the manager, how he just puts that responsibility on you. I think as a player that's absolutely brilliant. Look, I live in Motherwell obviously, and I go to Fir Park as often as I can, cause
once a year.
No, there's a there's a
statue,
Tim Hortons next to me for my coffee. And I've got to say, the Motherwell fans are loving the style of football. They're loving it, and it'd be great for them to get a 3 points.
Cammy, your team.
Oh, don't.
They're 3 down.
I know. An athletic nil, Clyde 3, Mohamed Niang with a goal.
I might not be in next week. I might be in the dugout.
Might be playing.
Oh,
no, mate, you better go to the cash line. I know where you're going.
David Friel saying it's been a tough afternoon so far for Mikey Moore. I mean, it's 18-year-old Loney who is thought very highly of at Tottenham. It's a tough environment though, isn't it, to go into when the crowd are really on the team aren't performing well.
I always worry, Andrew, when they come with that wonder kid reputation. For those of you with a good memory, can I just say Charlie Masonda under Brendan Rodgers, you know,
Chelsea won him.
Yeah, came to Celtic and everyone thought, you know, they've signed the greatest player ever, and Charlie Masonda was an absolute flop. I'm not saying Mikey Moore will be that way, but I think the point you make, Andrew, is the important one, that he hasn't come in to an environment that suits a teenager in Scottish football for the first time. And if David says he's struggling, then he must be. Spot on, Hugh. Absolutely spot on. You've got to understand, this young lad's 18. He's come up here. Everybody's looking at him. He'd be absolutely brilliant. We've been there. You go out on that pitch, and if you're not performing, the team's playing badly. I was there in the 80s when, under the greatest player of Rangers history, John Gregg, statue outside, and it was a very hard place to play football at times. Rightly so, the fans weren't happy. A young 18-year-old coming up for Tottenham, it's a hard place to play.
Well, Rangers, that's the closest they've come so far. Tello Asgard with a curling cross. Maybe it was a shot, but it hit the bar. Obviously good goal scoring form from him over the international break. 4 goals off the bench for Norway. He was wide on the left, played that ball into the box, came off the bar. It was tipped onto the bar, I think, actually.
Everyone will rush to say, well, he's 4 goals against Andorra, but that's neither here nor there. He got 4 goals, including a hat-trick, I think, in 13 minutes. But 39 minutes gone now, and Rangers could be doing, as I say, with something before half time, and Athletic could be doing with something before half time.
And Athletic now 4-0 down to Clyde. Avert your eyes, Cammy Bell.
I know. But going back to Rangers, I think they need that moment of magic. They need a spark, something to happen for them. And as Hugh said before, I think it's so important they try and get a goal before half time, because that negativity just festers, and again it allows the crowd to bring it back. Even if they are starting to come up a gear, the fans will let the players know at half time they're not happy with the performance.
The big cliche in this game is, and we've heard it a million times, the next goal is so important. If Hearts had to get it, I would not like to be in that stadium. Well, I would, because there's a spectator I'd like to.
And that's not to Nico Raskin. 4 for 2, Dumbarton 1. Scott Honeyman getting a goal back for the visitors in that game.
Have Hearts hit a quiet period, or
I think Rangers maybe look a bit more like they're going to do something than Hearts at the moment, but I suppose Hearts have that goal. They've maybe allowed themselves to not have to be on the front foot as much. Yeah,
something to hold on to, and that's terrific for them, you know. While Derek McInnes, a former Rangers player after all, he knows that the atmosphere inside Ibrox will only get progressively worse for Rangers the longer this game goes on.
I'm presuming that was the only shot on target Rangers have had, was it? Or have they had other ones in the first half?
Yeah, I think that may be the only
first,
one. Did Diomande have one? Oh, I think his was blocked
blocked,
and went out for a corner, so that's the only one. Yeah,
that's not good enough for me. 40 minutes in the first half at home, one shot on target is not good enough.
See, the thing I pick up on Hugh there, and usually I'd agree wholeheartedly if you're an away team at Ibrox going one goal, something you hang on to. I think Derek McInnes will be looking, thinking, do you know what? We could go and really put the pressure right on Rangers with a second goal.
Yeah.
So, because they've got obviously the players capable of doing that,
and they know how vulnerable Rangers are.
Exactly,
at this
mate.
moment.
I'd be smelling blood here. I'd be right after Rangers.
You're right. A second goal signals pandemonium, not just rumbling and grumbling. Pandemonium if Hearts go 2 up. That's what they have to avoid.
Is that part of the issue as well? Is that it's not just one area for Russell Martin, that it's not just defensively that Rangers look suspect. It's not just at the other end where they're struggling to create chances and score goals. There seems to be issues all over the park.
All I can say to you, Andrew, the international break plays games with your memory. Here we have a Rangers side who lost 6 goals to Club Brugge in Belgium without scoring any. Then moved on to play Celtic at Ibrox. Game ends in a draw. Rangers didn't score any. Now we have the international break over and done with, and they're playing Hearts. Now they're a goal down and haven't scored any, obviously. So you're talking about two and a half matches and still looking for a goal.
Marcus Fraser is having to come off for St Mirren. He felt awkwardly on his ankle, tried to play on, but he's now coming off for Richard King. Should we do a final call on this teaser, Hugh?
In the last 6 games between Rangers and Hearts, there have been 7 different Rangers players to score. Name them.
Simple as that. Name them, and we will get them very shortly before we get the half-time whistles. Not much really to report from a lot of the games. Certainly not a lot happening at Falkirk against St Mirren. The same at Aberdeen Livingston. Motherwell 1-0 up away to Dundee, and of course the big story, Rangers trailing by a goal to Hearts.
And that story dominates the headlines, but I would point out that Aberdeen have yet to score. Jimmy Talleen, the pressure mounts. Falkirk and St Mirren, well done John McGlynn, because there's going to be a big test of Falkirk today against a very good, well organised St Mirren team with a manager having his 400th game in management. Dundee, pressure on Stephen Presley, they're a goal down to Motherwell. So there are bits and pieces from around the country, but all eyes focused on Ibrox, because the way that game is going is very bad for Russell Martin.
Yeah, well, Rangers had that wee spell where they maybe looked like they could do something, but David Friel telling us that Hearts are pushing again, trying to get that goal before the break to put them 2 goals up.
Well, I repeat, if one becomes 2, pandemonium.
Yeah, late Motherwell corner, so they're trying to do the same, trying to get a second goal against Dundee, which would be very good for Jens Bertel Askew going into his half-time team talk.
And as I say, all credit to John McGlynn. Back-to-back promotions in the Premiership, and today was a test of how can you do against a team that you might not be expected to beat, but can you live with them?
Do you fancy them to stay up this year, Hugh?
I think they'll struggle.
Yeah, I'm probably in that same boat as well.
There's that word from David Friel that I was wondering how long it would take to get to today. Toxic. He said lots of boos at slow play out from the back for Rangers. Well, the fans are not having it.
That was the case when Russell Martin arrived here, and I always remember reading the story of the goal, MK Dons, 58 passes, and I thought, so you could actually get up off your seat, go for a pie, buy a pie, come back and
eat a pie.
Yeah. So that's not for Rangers fans.
No, but listen, style of plays, and again, everyone at the start alluded to, it takes time to implement a style of play. Motherwell, use Motherwell example. They've came in with a style of play, the manager's implemented it, and he's managed to, what we've seen from that first Rangers game of the season, they've progressed, they've got better at it, whereas Rangers, I've not even seen this style of play. I don't understand the style of play yet, so I just find as if that it's quite bizarre the way that Russell Martin's went about this so far.
I assume, Cammy, that Kevin Thelwell is the man who reports directly to Andrew Kavanagh.
Yep.
Now, he cannot omit to tell Andrew Kavanagh that we might have a problem here, because the crowd are openly hostile towards the head coach.
Yeah, I tell you what, they are chanting again? at Russell Martin.
To leave.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately for me, the owners of the club will know this. They're not silly people at the top of the club, so they'll be hearing this, as you say. The sporting director who will report on all footballing matters. Yes, they'll have to have that conversation away from when Russell Martin's in the room. So there's no getting away from it. This isn't good enough at Rangers Football Club. It's not. It's miles away from it.
We're seconds away from the half-time whistle, and David will try to be heard over the crowd, but this cannot continue.
No, it can't. It can't.
Let's wrap this up, Hugh, before we get the half-time scores.
Yep.
The first half teaser.
With the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
In the last 6 games between Rangers and Hearts, there have been 7 different Rangers players to score. They are Cyril Dessers, Oscar Cortez, Mohamed Diomande, Ross McCausland, Todd Cantwell, Václav Černý, and
2 more. Fabio Silva is one of the answers, and the other, let me check this against the other sheet I've got. I'll tell you what, I'll just give you the winners, shall I? Because Cyril Dessers, Oscar Cortez, Mohamed Diomande, Ross McCausland, Todd Cantwell, Fabio Silva and Václav Černý. So congratulations to Michael Donati, who was third on the podium, Jim Ban 96, who was second, and in first place it was Alex. Right, half time between Falkirk and St Mirren. Fraser Wishart.
Not much to report here, Andrew. It's Falkirk 0, St Mirren 0. Game really not got going, and to be honest with you, it's a pretty poor game so far to watch. Falkirk for better the first 20 minutes, their tempo dropped, St Mirren came back into the game, but only one effort on target for each, and both of those were weak headers, or perhaps tells its own story. Falkirk started the game really well. They were on the front foot. Calvin Miller dangerous on the left with his pace. The winger almost got in the end of a low Tate cross. Good clearance by Jayden Richardson right in front of his own goal. He could have put it into his own net if he hadn't got the ball away properly, but very little from St Mirren in the first 20 minutes. They would get near the Bain goal as Falkirk dominated the ball, although unable to create chances for themselves. The home side, 23 minutes, a first half chance for Saints. A good cross on the left from Declan John. Johnny Younger just couldn't quite get his legs in the right position. The ball was just behind him to get good contact on the header, but then a minute later Killian Phillips curled a shot a yard over. St Mirren began to put a little bit of pressure on the Falkirk goal. The other end, 27th minute, a deep Leon McCann cross. Shamal George got himself caught in no man's land. Ross McKeever at the back post, head the ball down as it bounced towards goal. I don't think it was going in. No Falkirk players there to tap into the net, and Richardson again cleared the ball. O'Hara at the other end then headed the ball down towards the goal. Another cross on the left by Declan John, but no power from the midfield player, and the ball bounced easily into the arms of Bain. And very similar at the other end, Ross McKeever not able to test George properly, and as we passed the half hour mark with no real chances at either end. Those were the only 2 efforts on goal from O'Hara and McKeever. A real blow for Saints just before the break when Marcus Fraser fell awkwardly clearing the ball in a header at the back post. He definitely twisted his ankle, got treatment, he tried to play on, but he limped off to be replaced by Richard King. But that was it, and really hoping for much better from both in the second half. A goal would liven things up, no end, a goal at either end, and they might then be heading to a 0-0 draw the way things are going here so far. Half time, Falkirk 0, St Mirren 0.
It's also half time between Aberdeen and Livingston. No goals in that game, not a lot of action either. We will go and get the half time score from Dundee against Motherwell shortly as well. I think it is half time there, but I just want to wait for Ibrox, because I think it's better to go right at half time. David Friel can give us that story now.
Yes, half time, Andrew, and you can hear the boos coming from Ibrox. Half time, Rangers 0, Hearts 1. Lon Shankland's goals put Hearts ahead, but the story is all about Rangers, and there's a real story brewing here. Rangers have been awful in the first half. They've had some bad domestic performances this season. This must be the worst, and Russell Martin is under serious pressure. It's turned toxic at times in this first half. There have been chants for Nico Raskin, there's been chants against Russell Martin, even slack play at the back, slow play at the back. The fans are really on the Rangers players. It can be easy for them out there on the Ibrox pitch, but they need to be so much better than they have been so far. For Russell Martin, there's so much pressure on him now, so many questions being asked. His team have been second best Andrew, they did pick up towards the end of the first half, but Hearts have been in top. Derek McInnes will probably feel he could even have scored more goals. They should have been ahead after 3 minutes. Craig Halkett with a header, free kick was cleared to Cammy Devlin, just helped it into the box. Halkett completely unmarked, headed over from a few yards. Lauren Shanklin's been outstanding. He had a chance to work some space at the edge of the box. His low shot was saved. Hearts are well on top pretty much from the off. The goalkeeper Alexander Swallow hardly had anything to do. The Rangers fans weren't happy. After 9 minutes she had the first Nico Raskin chance. There's been a couple of them throughout the half. It took Rangers 19 minutes to even create a first chance through Jady Gassama. It came after slack play from Swallow. The ball was worked to Mikey Moore. He picked out Gassama, but he fluffed the chance with a total miss hit. But overall Hearts have been in top, and the deserved goal came in 21 minutes. Claudio Braga, again so lively, he burst through and slipped a pass to Lawrence Shanklin. It wasn't an easy chance from the kind of angle of the box, but he buried a left foot shot into the corner. What a goal it was. But Rangers, so many questions been asked. That sparked up chance against Russell Martin. The Grumbles have never been far away. It's been a really, really tough first half for Rangers. They did pick up a bit. Tello Asgard hit the bar from wide on the left. Kassam then had a long range shot saved, but overall they've offered so little in attack. Hearts well worthy of their win. A huge half-time team talk for Russell Martin, but the fans are not happy at Ibrox. Half-time, Rangers 0, Hearts 1.
Half-time at Dens Park, Dundee, Motherwell. Tom Grant is there.
Yeah, Dundee 0, Motherwell 1, and another set of home fans not happy with their team here. Half-time boos here as well, maybe not as loud as at Ibrox, but it was Tawanda Maswanise who's made the difference so far with a great solo effort on 33 minutes. In truth, it's been a bit of a cat and mouse affair here. Motherwell, the side asking most of the questions. They've dictated this match for the most part, taking early control and trying to be patient as they made pass after pass, looking to unlock a stubborn Dens Park rearguard. Neither side could really carve out that big chance. Both teams wasting early decent free kick opportunities from just outside each penalty box. For the home side, any joy has come down the left with Tony Ugan driving down and getting his side up the park. Captain Simon Murray has also been his usual busy self, hustling and hassling the Motherwell players as they slowed the pace of the game down. He and his opposition captain Liam Gordon got into a bit of handbags on 20 minutes, probably the highlight of the early exchanges. But as the half progressed, Motherwell looked ever more dangerous, the front three poking and prodding to no avail. That was until Maswanise decided to make his mark, receiving the ball about 40 yards out. He took a touch and drove goalwards before dropping his shoulder to create space past Clark Robertson and drilling the home past John McCracken. Boos could be heard from some of the Dens faithful, not a large section but some at that point, as they began facing up to the prospect that they could be bottom of the top flight come 5pm tonight should Aberdeen secure 3 points. Well, could have been 2 up right on the stroke of half time, but Longello's shot was put into the side netting again following some poor defending from Dundee, and this again brought some boos from the home fans. Dundee staying at 5 without a win. Motherwell, if they continue as they have done so far, notching their first league win under Jens Berthelascu. Dundee 0, Motherwell 1.
We'll bring in the half-time scores from around Scotland next.
The fastest goals, the experts' opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Half-time scores in the Scottish Premiership. It's Aberdeen 0, Livingston 0, Dundee 0, Motherwell 1, Falkirk 0, St Mirren 0, and it's Rangers 0, Hearts 1. Hibs against Dundee United is the late kick-off today. In the Championship, it's Arbroath 0, Dunfermline 2, Ayr 1, Ross County 0, Queen's Park 0, Morton 0, Wraith Rovers 0, St Johnstone 1. Into League 1, it's Alloa 0, Montrose 0, East Fife 1, Queen of the South 1, Kelty Hearts 0, Stenhousemuir 1, Peterhead 1, Hamilton 1. And into League 2, it's Annan Athletic 0, Clyde 4, Edinburgh City 1, East Kilbride 2, Elgin City 1, Stirling Albion 0, Forfar 2, Dumbarton 1, it's Stranraer 0, Spartans 0. And in the English Premier League, it was 3-0 to Arsenal over Nottingham Forest in the early kick-off. And in the 3 o'clock games, half-time scores: Bournemouth 1, Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 0, Sunderland 0, Everton 0, Aston Villa 0, Fulham 0, Leeds 0, and it's Newcastle 1, Wolves 0. We will go back to Ibrox next.
The team with the biggest support in Glasgow and the West. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Second half's approaching in the Scottish Premiership and all across the country, but the main story of the day so far is Rangers trail Hearts by 1-0 at Ibrox. David Friel, you've been keeping an eye on potential changes for Rangers. Does it look as if anything's going to happen at the break?
Yeah, we're definitely going to get 2 changes from Rangers, Andrew. The players are still in the changing rooms, but the subs are out, and Derek Cornelius and Oliver Antman are both have their substitutes top off. They're out with full strip on, and it looks as if they both will be coming on at the break. I wonder if Mikey Moore might be one of them to give way, and I'm not sure. Cornelius can obviously play centre half or left back, so Rangers could, I suppose, change formation, go to a back 3. We'll see what happens. Russell Martin still has his players in the dressing room, and I'm assuming he's going to give them some home truths. Rangers, as I said, were so poor in that first half, Andrew, and I think the most damning thing, I think it's probably what angered the fans most, is that Hearts just look a better team. Hearts just look far better organised. They look with a far better idea of what they're trying to do. It's a really good balance. They play nice football, but they also aren't afraid to get it forward. Whereas Rangers, it was just a big mishmash, and it's hard to watch this Rangers team and really understand what they're trying to do, what their partner plays are, what their style is really. And as you kind of alluded to earlier on, that's what Russell Martin had promised. You know, it was going to be this free-flowing style, but it's just not happening. And he's right now at the point of must-win now. He needs to try and turn this round, because, as I said earlier, it turned toxic. The fans clearly are not having him. You heard the anti-Russell Martin chants in the first half. You heard the pro-Nico Raskin chants in the first half. And this is a huge 45 minutes for his future. I was one of the ones, Andrew, who felt it was far too early before the Old Firm game to talk about him going. But if this goes to a 5th game without a Premiership win, there's going to be serious questions asked of his tenure.
Yeah, we see sometimes at games where it almost looks as if that is the point of no return between the manager and supporters. Some will maybe feel they got to that point already, but does it have that feeling really in the stadium across that first half?
Yeah, it does, because as you said, you know, you had that international break, and I think everyone, after getting a point against Celtic, just probably thought Rangers would come back out, you know, firing a bit, and a bit more enthusiasm and energy about them. But they've really, really toiled. And I'm just looking here, I think it looks like Nasser Giga is going to go off, and yeah, I think Mikey Moore is also going to go off. So I'd imagine Gassam will go over to the left and Antman will play on the right, and I think Derek Cornelius will probably just go into centre half beside John Souttar. Yeah, it does feel like that, and it just feels as if the fans now are just crying out for anything. Andrew, I think the Rangers fans are pretty fed up already. You know, we're only in the middle of September, still waiting on our first league win, and they're just waiting for a spark. They're just waiting for a team to really hit their stride, and it's not happened. And this has been a pretty alarming first half for them. Maybe Russell Martin would say last 5 minutes the first half was a bit better and just carried a bigger threat, but it need to be so much better in this second half.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy. Get set for the season with expert pharmacy support.
Yeah, Russell Martin making 2 changes at the break. Did he have to change something?
Oh yeah, he's got to. There's no point sending the same 11 out. We heard David talking about young Moore. It's a big ask for him, especially under that pressure. And you heard at half time the boos, the Rangers fans certainly not happy. He had to freshen up. He has to try and change something. He has to get that response. Now, he's been into that dressing room and he's given them what for, and rightly should. So he's looking as a manager, first thing, give me that response, show me that you're behind me as a team, and it's up to his players to go and deliver.
Well, he was booed back onto the touchline, Russell Martin. So it's not looking like a good start to the second half between the fans and Russell Martin.
It's the nature of the hostility that's the most important thing for me. They started to boo before the first half was halfway gone. Now they're booing him onto the park in the way that they've booed Rangers players onto the park under Russell Martin this season. So any cliche fits the bill here, because he needs 2 goals minimum. He must win 2-1, otherwise this situation worsens overnight.
Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
What a start to the second half for Dundee. Dundee 1, Motherwell 1, and it's Luke Graham who was on Scotland under-21 duty over the international break. He's back from international duty and he is on the score sheet for Dundee, so they are back level. Cammy Bell cannot believe what he is seeing. Annan Athletic 0, Clyde 5.
Tough day at the office for Annan,
Clyde haven't scored 5 goals in a game since Craig Brown was the manager.
Right. Oh, we're sitting
Are you available next week to help me?
You're sitting between me and Hugh, who are brilliant at this game, and you've come into this environment, and you're saying to me, I will bet you a meal Annan will finish above you.
It's only because it's my local club.
You've then come into the environment and said this afternoon, Annan will wipe the floor with Clyde.
No, I never.
Anyway, my grandson,
Ross County won. That's a goal for Jay Henderson for Ross County.
My grandson goes to Brighton matches with a Japanese flag because his hero is Mitoma. And Mitoma has equalised for Brighton at Bournemouth in the bucket and spade derby.
I tell you what, it was almost an even better start to the second half for Dundee. They got that equaliser just after the break, and then Simon Murray has gone close with a diving header. So that really could have been a quick turnaround for Dundee against Motherwell.
Dundee are close to being a one-man team when it comes to Simon Murray. He's the inspiration. Motherwell can't hold the lead.
I know, it's starting to get a bit worrying, but look, there's plenty of time to go. They're playing good football up there. They got the first goal. They've given it away obviously so early in the second half. Got to give credit. Elvis has had a good half-time team talk. Russell Martin is probably standing there hoping for the same.
Let's do this, Hugh.
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I have played alongside Craig Gordon, Lewis Morgan and Stephen Thompson. Whatever happened to him? I've been managed by Jim Jeffries and Robbie Neilson. I've won a league title in Scotland and I've been Player of the Year. Who am I? Played alongside Craig Gordon, Lewis Morgan, Stephen Thompson. Managed by Jim Jeffries and Robbie Neilson. Won a league title in Scotland and a Player of the Year award. Who am I?
You can see all that information at Clyde SSB, and remember it is a race, so tweet us with your answer as quickly as you can to get on the podium. I think quite a few people out there will get that. It's definitely doable, that one.
So great start then for Dundee, or restart I should say. 1-1, still nothing from Pittodrie.
It's interesting going to the Rangers one though. I think Rangers really need to start the second half well. It'll be interesting to see how the first 10-15 minutes go. It's so important that there is that reaction we spoke about from Russell Martin, and that tells a lot of story to the fans, that if they come out, there's been that team talk, a few home truths as we said, it's probably been said in the changing rooms. Are the players reacting to what Russell Martin says? So I think it's really important that he gets that in the first 15 minutes.
On the first day of the season, Cammy, they drew 1-1 and he came out and he accused them of self-preservation. And then he came out with Igaman and he put him in his place at Paisley. Are the lessons being absorbed by the players?
Well, that's a big question. You've got to say, right, the Motherwell want to come out. We looked at what the reaction was going to be midweek, and he did get a reaction. And I thought that was good management. I like to see that refreshing. Everybody says, oh, keep it in-house. Sometimes you've got to come out and discuss it, because that's what happens in modern day games. Guys like yourself, Hugh, it's been in the business, you'll push with questions after questions. Sometimes you've just got to put your hands up and say, right, here's the honest answer of it. Igaman, he handled that 100% right. If somebody refuses to come on the pitch, the only thing I would have done with Igaman was I'd have sent him into the dressing room and let him go home.
See, the Motherwell one, I think it was too early for him to do that.
Do you?
I do.
He got a reaction,
right?
That's what he was looking for.
But the players that you could say in one word, chucked under the bus, he's had to go back to these players, and I know he has. He's had to go back to a certain number of these players, the ones that he'd identified that weren't doing it or were going against him and weren't listening to instructions. He's had to then go back and revert back. Listen, I just felt as if he just in the door. You've got to gain the players' trust. You've got to again get that relationship with players, and I think it was just slightly too early for him to do it. I understand why he done it, and it was probably at that time music to the Rangers fans' ears to saying like, whoa, listen, this guy's more than happy to hang them out if they're not doing it. But I just think it was slightly too early.
Yeah, you wonder, it's quite an environment for Derek Cornelius to be stepping into for his first game. He has come from Marseille, who do have quite a hostile crowd as well. Maybe he's better equipped than others to kind of cope with that. And then you wonder if Yusuf Chermiti at some point is going to be thrown in, who hasn't played a lot of big pressure football in his career before.
That one goes two ways, Andrew. You bring him on and everyone sits there and says, right, 8 million rising to 10 million if all figures are to be accepted, but has, I think, 3 career goals, and people are saying, how can that amount of money be spent on someone with a record as weak as that? However, you might have no other option. He might be the last chance saloon for you. So you have to put him on, close your eyes and hope for the best.
I mean, Rangers are surely going to have to turn to him at some point this afternoon, you'd expect, if it continues like this.
Well, there will be questions asked if you're losing to Hearts and you've got an £8 million player sitting on your bench and you don't use him. Of course, that'd be really bad management. Look, he's brought in a lot of players. Is it 13, 14, round about that number?
13, I think.
A lot of them, Jigger for instance, him and Suter were never a partnership as long as the two of them were footballers. They were never going to be a partnership. They lose goals, they give up chances, everything about them. They're not suited. So this is a wee opportunity this afternoon. Ant-Man, he hit the ground brilliantly. Everybody thought there was a star in the making in his first game. Hardly kicked a ball since. So it's a big afternoon for him. Aarons, he persevered with him for week in, week out. Tried him at left back, tried him at right back. We could all see that he'd nothing to offer. So he's got to go to his bit. If he doesn't get back in, doesn't get that response, you cannot have an £8 million player sitting there. You've got to get him on the pitch.
Dundee really pushing to try and get that goal to go ahead after equalising against Motherwell. Simon Murray, it was a sitter from him all alone, sort of penalty spot range, but he rolls his shot wide, and then at Ibrox, Kizaridis was free at the back post, but his shot was cleared.
Well, it doesn't sound as if Rangers have started on the front foot, gone hell for leather.
Well, then up the other end, Jedi Gassam played in behind, but a low cross from him, no takers in the box.
And so it goes on, and the clock ticks on, and the need grows greater. And Dazzler's right, you cannot have an £8 million player sitting there watching the game. You really have to throw the dice.
Not sure Fraser Wishart's having the best time at Falkirk against St Mirren. He said there was a half chance there for St Mirren. It was a miss kick by Mark O'Hara, a half volley going over from 16 yards, but not a whole lot happening there.
And he's getting his big wage check easy this afternoon. Half-time report, 30 seconds, 40 seconds? Occasional, we half chance.
Up the road.
You'll be wishing some VAR stoppages on him. So there's about 10-15 minutes of injury time.
That would be brilliant. But I think Fraser will get a goal. Do you not think so, Hugh? I think there'll be a goal there.
I think at half time, if I remember Fraser's report correctly, he said it had the look of 0-0 about it. So,
but Fraser made a career out of that.
One goal wins it, doesn't it? It feels like that type of game. Even before it, I didn't think there would be a huge amount of goals in that game. I went for St Mirren, but I kind of just thought they would sneak it with their physicality and their directness of their play.
I'm not listening to you. You went for Annan.
Okay, I never went for Annan.
Neil Lennon's going well. Arbroath 0, Dunfermline 3. Andy Todd hat-trick.
Yeah, hat-trick for Andy Todd, who's having a very good season. There is a change for Motherwell and Jens Bertel Askew. It is Regan Charles Cook who has gone off, and Elijah Just, who's had a good start to the season. He comes on.
Yeah, it sounds like an entertaining game. Tom Grant's watching there, so that could go either way.
I like that Swansea have just scored against Hull, and it's just come up in the video printer. Ronald.
Yeah.
Ronald, yes.
It's not quite got the mystique of sort of other other sort of one name players, does it? Ronald.
I would have told the kit man, just stick a wee O on the end of that, mate. Let's see the response.
Yeah, well, it is still 1-0 to Hearts at Ibrox, and you do think that with every passing minute that Rangers don't score or don't start to look a bit more threatening, that it will just continue to get more toxic inside Ibrox. I'm not sure this substitution will really help the mood around the place. Connor Barron is coming off. Joe Rothwell is on for him. David Friel saying initial grumbles and then cheers.
Is that surely that's got to be a knock? But you know, I made that at half time as well. A midfield player
Less than 10 minutes. You're right. Yep.
Rothwell, it's not like that's a very attacking.
It's a like for like. That's what it is.
Yeah, surely that must be a little. Look, we'll give you 10 minutes to see how you go, and he's made the substitution.
Tavernier with a shot from long range, but that was always going wide from the Rangers captain. There's also a missed chance for Motherwell as well. Stamatolopoulos, about 3 yards out, collided with the post after he scuffed his shot. He's now getting treatment for that, so play is stopped.
You always hope he doesn't score.
Oh, mate, honestly,
so you can avoid an attempt at that.
See, I used to go out to the games. I swear, see if I got the Motherwell one now, I wouldn't turn up.
We had that old clip as well. Remember that Mark Wilson was out at a game, and one of the producers was listening to him through the line when he was off air at the time, when he was practicing how to say Gail Bigiramana, and one of the producers then clipped it up and we played it out.
Oh dear.
Nothing worse when you get caught.
Yep.
I would just say Stammer or number 38 or whatever.
I think Gail Bigiramana is quite easy compared to Apostolos Stamatolopoulos and Tawanda Maswanisi.
We're old enough, you and I, Daz, to remember when Miodrag Kapic was at Motherwell.
Remember that? Oh, it was hard. What a player he was, man.
Oh yeah,
what a player he was.
Peterhead 2, Hamilton 1. Cammy Smith putting the home side ahead. I did see a story about who Hamilton, I don't know whether it's officially signed or not, but the son of, remember Rustu Rekber, the Turkey goalkeeper, the guy that wore the paint underneath his eyes. His son is a striker and is signed or signing for Hamilton apparently.
Alright, okay.
It's interesting.
Big signing,
goalkeeper
yeah.
trivia. I don't know whether he's any good or not, but also not a goalkeeper.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And
no, I
does
do
he
remember
wear
him.
paint under his eyes?
I don't think so, no. And he should do it just to continue.
Following his father's eye step.
A bit better from Rangers. A bit better from Rangers there. Oliver Antman has had a shot saved. Asgard with the follow-up. It was blocked. Rangers claim a handball on that one, so we'll see if there is any VAR check.
Well, they need a break, and VAR might be their salvation, because they have to do something reasonably. Oh well, there goes that break. So we're getting to the stage. What are we? 60 minutes into the game?
Yeah, we'll be 60. But again, they just need that moment. I think they need a goal, but it needs to come pretty soon, because they don't want to put themselves under pressure. The longer this goes on, the more a draw does nothing for me.
I mean, that's been a theme for Rangers, being behind at this stage of the game, and then they play their best football when essentially they're just scrambling to try and get a goal.
Well,
not that I'm saying that that's a good thing. We do have a goal to tell you about, though.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Falkirk 0, St Mirren 1. Declan John with the free kick. It took a big deflection off the wall and ended up in the back of the net. Scott Bain sent the wrong way because of the deflection. He had absolutely no chance, and St Mirren have the lead in Stephen Robinson's 400th game in management.
Major milestone for him. Major problem now for Falkirk. As I say, today was a test of Falkirk's ability to handle that level of opposition. When they play Celtic or Rangers, they're not expected to get anything. But against a St Mirren, if you're going to survive in the league, you have to pick up points against the like of St Mirren.
Yeah, St Mirren have had a really tough start to the season as well. When you look at the league table, their points tally isn't overly impressive going into today, but they played Celtic at Celtic Park, then were at home to a Motherwell team who have been very good this season, then they were at home to Rangers, and then away to Hibs. So it's been a pretty tough spell for them, and if they can come away with a win today, I think Stephen Robinson will be very happy, because as it stands, that would put them up to third in the table.
When they were at Celtic Park, they were better than Celtic, and it took a belated deflected goal from Celtic to get the points that day. So I always thought they would beat Falkirk, but they're not over the line yet. 64 minutes when the goal came, but a milestone for Stephen Robinson. He'd love to mark the milestone with a win.
Rangers getting closer. JD Gassama off the post. It was a very good effort from the winger, but unable to find the back of the net. He switched sides actually after Oliver Antman came on. He's now playing off the left wing and looking a lot more dangerous off that side.
Yeah, I think that's where he was most dangerous when he started off at Rangers. coming in, getting goals, being a real threat, able to go down the side of the fullback as well. Ant-Man's obviously a right-sided winger, so there's a nice balance to that. But you need to start creating chances.
It sounds like they're knocking on the door. I think within the next 10 minutes Rangers will equalise.
Cammy Bell is ready.
Good time.
Cammy Bell is ready to walk out this studio. Aaron Athletic 0, Clyde 6. Marley Redfern has a hat-trick for Clyde.
Get your house in Annan this afternoon, he says to me.
I never said that.
What an afternoon for Dunfermline as well. They're now 4-0 up away to Arbroath. Zach Rudden on the score sheet for Neil Lennon's side.
Well, you know, Arbroath went to Ross County last week and beat them.
Had a good start to the season, Arbroath.
Yeah. Yep. So this is a real setback, but fair play to Dunfermline.
They needed that this afternoon, Hugh, because they were sort of adrift. If they'd have lost today, all of a sudden, 5 points. And St Johnstone are winning. And they're still winning in there at Wraith. 1-0 still. So they've got to keep up there. I know it's early in the season, but
so competitive though, isn't it? When you look at that championship, it's really difficult to see anyone run away with it. I don't think anyone will run away. I think it'll be really, really tight. But that's a big win because, as you say, Hugh, Arbroath have been decent. Good win last week. Really good start to the season, and that's a big result for them.
Another chance for Rangers. Derek Cornelius heading over the bar from a corner.
Within 10 minutes to equalise. Remember these words, Daz.
Okay, I've got the clock and I'm counting it down. 25, I'll give you 35.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, none of you predicted a Hearts win.
No, I predicted a draw.
You did.
So if Rangers score, then
I think if Rangers score now, they've got enough time to
win it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The introduction of Gassam appears to have made the difference, and as Daz said, the proper balance when you put him.
He was on already. It was Antman that came on, and he
swap sides. Yeah.
So when it gets to 4:35, it'll be 1-1.
But they need to get the ball in the back in it. That is the most important thing. They need to do it soon.
Yeah, David Friel's saying that Hearts are offering nothing in attack now. You wonder how much of that is potentially tactical from Derek McInnes, or whether that's just the sort of natural way that these games, take shape with Hearts having the lead, and they'll maybe just push further back.
Momentum, I think, seems certainly what's happened since half time. I wouldn't have thought Derek McInnes would have went out to his Hearts team and said,
sit back and hold on there
for 45 minutes. It's a long time. Yes, the last 10-15 minutes you can sit in and soak up pressure.
Another great chance for Rangers. It was a cross into the box. Asgard and Diamandi both go for it. Neither of them get it. David Friel says one of them should have got to it and scored.
Could you ask David what one, so we can clarify that to the listeners?
But the undeniable evidence appears to be the penny has dropped. Rangers are really going for it now. Hearts have dropped out, and the equaliser looks inevitable.
Even if Rangers do end up getting an equaliser, end up coming back and winning the game, it's still a worrying trend, isn't it, for Russell Martin, that it takes Rangers being behind and chasing the game to then actually spark themselves into life and start creating any type of chance.
Yeah, they're struggling just now, and I'm going to say something, and people will deny it. I bet there's Rangers fans sitting there now probably thinking, hope we do lose this to get rid of the manager. And that's the sad state of affairs that Rangers are at just now. They probably won't be wanting Rangers, as much as they love the club and they want to see Rangers picking up 3 points. I think there's a lot of fans now decided, how do we get rid of this manager? Because it's, as David say, toxic there at half time. Everything's against the manager. A Rangers manager walks down the tunnel and they're booing him. And it's only started second half.
That's massive.
It is, mate. It is. And people don't understand that. And look, I think it'll be papering over the cracks here. But they're still to come back.
I always remember the point around
Diamandi with a shot blocked now.
Michael Beale. Aberdeen won 3-1 at Ibrox. And you knew it was the end for Michael Beale. But even Michael Beale didn't get treated prior to that game the way that Russell Martin's being treated now.
I think the Rangers fans just don't see a future. Even if they win this game, they go on and again, you're right, there will be fans that will be sitting there. Certainly I think a lot of fans are desperate though, because they can't drop any more points for the sake of the league and the way the positional play is going to be in the league, and potentially Celtic getting further ahead tomorrow. So
I mean, it would be 9 points behind Hearts.
Massive.
By the 13th of September.
Absolutely huge. And again, I just feel as if they don't see the future. They don't see a progression, don't see a style of play. Again, David touched on it. What is their style of play? I'm unsure at this moment in time, and it almost becomes second half when we've seen them at their best, when they're scrambling. You mentioned it before, Andrew, when they're scrambling, when they're throwing bodies at it, when they're just pushing probably a little bit of freedom for the players rather than being so structured, and they start to perform a little bit better.
Well, I don't know how structured this looks. Yusuf Chamiti on, Jayden Magoma off.
Well, there's an attacking move. So the left back goes off. Who goes into full back then?
Would he?
I mean,
go 3 in the back.
Rangers have had a goal disallowed. We'll get you more information on that. It was just after that substitution was made. The ball was bundled over the line. It will be checked, I think, just depending on when the whistle went.
Okay. Tavernier probably go into defence and go
the 3. Yep.
2 wide men with pace up and down, and 2 up top.
Yep.
That's why I was a manager, mate. That's why I got to Hampden occasionally.
I think Stephen Maclean had possibly whistled before the ball was bundled over the line, which means that there wouldn't be a check on that. Right. Which means that he would feel confident that there was a foul.
I hope he is confident, because there'll be a lot of frustration out from Rangers fans if he's not.
Almost 2-0 to St Mirren against Falkirk. It was a good save by Scott Bain. Killian Phillips with the low shot.
He's a good player, Killian Phillips. I like him when I see him. Yeah, fantastic strong player. Can get about the pitch, real quality on the ball, tackles. He's got everything actually.
So we're 3/4 of the way through at Ibrox. Still Hearts and the lead, if not in control, because they are no longer in control. They appear to have dropped out of this altogether.
Should we check in on that teaser, Hugh?
Yeah. I have played alongside Craig Gordon, Lewis Morgan and Stephen Thompson. I've been managed by Jim Jeffries and Robin Nielsen. I've won a league title in Scotland, and I've been player of the year. Who am I?
Stuart Evertson says Chris Boyd.
No.
Gazzo says Paul Hartley.
No.
David Laughlin has gone for Jackie McNamara.
Not Jackie.
Mark F says Stephen Naismith.
No.
So still a bit of work to be done by people out there. I do see a couple of correct answers. I think the free kick was given to Hearts for an Asgard foul on the goalkeeper.
Well, it's you're into the last quarter of the game. The bugles are blaring, the sirens are wailing, and goals are being disallowed, and the whole place will be on its ear. But Rangers have to keep on going, because David Friel is telling us that as an attacking force, Hearts have gone away.
Yeah, I think Rangers were a bit annoyed about that decision. James Tavernier certainly was. Looked as if he was booked for dissent, booked for complaining after that. But you still think that any refereeing decision in this game will still be secondary to any complaints about the manager and the result and the style.
I keep going back to it. The open nature of the hostility towards Russell Martin is astonishing. He's having his 5th league game as Rangers manager. Admittedly, he had an awful exit from Europe, 9-1 against Club Brugge on aggregate, and that's humiliation. But we are mid-September, and they're booing him out of the tunnel for the start of the second half. I have never known, and the first Rangers manager I dealt with as a journalist was Willie Waddle, for heaven's sake. I have never known anyone to be treated in this manner so quickly. Le Guen, 31 games and out. Kashinya was a joke, out. Michael Beale should never have been appointed in the first place, out. And all the other mistakes. But this guy is taking the biscuit for the early turn of events, the early turn against him on a personal level.
Stoppage in play at Ibrox as Joe Rothwell is down getting treatment.
They don't fancy him either.
No, they don't. No, there's a lot that they've brought into the building that They've not got their careers up and running yet. But look, some people take time. You've got to give them that. But the problem is the manager get time? That's a big question mark.
Joe Rothwell's one that's kind of surprised me. It's almost taken him, certainly looks from the outside in, that by surprise of how big the club is. He's been at Southampton, Leeds, so he's played Premier League football down south, but he almost seems as if I don't know, he can't handle the expectation or certainly the speed of the game. I'm unsure, because I watched him at St Mirren. I was at St Mirren game and he got subbed and he honestly couldn't get off the pitch quick enough. It was all, I just really felt as if he felt uncomfortable in that situation. So he's got a lot to prove to the Rangers fans.
Do you remember, Andrew, the question and answer session that Kevin Dalziel did with the Rangers media, and he was asked, why do you concentrate on the English market? And I thought his answer at the time was understandable. It's the market that he and Russell Martin know. But a lot of questions been asked about players being brought in from that market.
Well, that stoppage in play has coincided with more chants from the Rangers supporters against Russell Martin. They are making themselves heard. A lot of the chat going into the game was expecting chants about Nico Raskin, but I think that's all sort of dissipated completely, and the anger is just going towards the manager.
If this keeps up, Hugh, I think Russell Martin will be joining Ninson.
But I repeat, I've never known hostility to be this bad, this quick.
You ever had those chants directed at you?
Have I ever had those chants?
I was going to say professional or personal life, actually. We'll stick to professional life.
I've had those chants when I was a manager of United. We're playing St Mirren, never forget it. I walked out, the full end put a red card up, wanted me off, right? For 17
So it wasn't a spontaneous thing. They'd actually coordinated to bring red cards with them.
100% red cards, right? I was standing there, they were singing the full 70 minutes. We drew with St Mirren, right? I got a police escort to my car. Outside there was a protest, and that year I took them to a cup final, semi-final, and finished second in the league. There was only one winner.
Genuinely though, on a serious note, what was that like in that moment?
Listen, and that was at a low level, right? That was Championship at the time. This is Russell Martin, front of 50,000 Rangers supporters. It's not nice. And listen, everybody can say you're strong or whatever it may be. If he goes home tonight, let me tell you, it'll be the worst weekend he'll have in a long time if Hearts win that game, because he'll know that he's under pressure. He listens to these shit. Listen, I've been in the shoes. It's not funny. It's really a difficult time for a manager, and you've got to hope that your staff really dig in and support you and help you. But he's looking for his players to help him right now, because they're the only ones that can bail him out of jail this afternoon.
What a performance for Dunfermline. They're now 5-0 up away to Arbroath. Rory McLeod on the score sheet for them as Elgin take a 3-0 lead over Stirling Albion. Kane Hester scoring, and Spartans are now 1-0 up away to Stranraer. Jamie Dishington on the score sheet.
In the passing, Aberdeen nil, Livy
nil.
Yeah,
that's another one.
Yep.
And it kind of has gone under the radar so far today, that game, hasn't it? But this, I think there will have been, we said earlier, maybe that renewed optimism from Aberdeen fans just based on their business late in the window. 2 shots on target they've had today against Livingston. Livingston have had the same. It's been, I think, a relatively even game. Aberdeen probably shading it, but still not very inspiring, I don't think.
Can they play back-to-back games against newly promoted Falkirk and newly promoted Livy and not score a goal
at home?
At home in either match.
Yep.
His record for winning games is shocking.
Yeah.
And it's obviously papered over the fact that the Scottish Cup win. And I think that's what the Aberdeen fans give him a wee bit of leeway. If he hadn't won the Scottish Cup and you look at his record, it's absolutely shocking.
I was just about to say that if he hadn't won the Scottish Cup, he'd be under major pressure at this moment in time, and people would be asking questions for him to be moved on. And listen, it's getting that way if they don't start winning games, because they're certainly 2 home games you expect Aberdeen to win.
Yeah,
it's Falkirk at home, and no disrespect to his team, in Livingston at home, and they've still got time to do it today.
But not only not win them, Cammy, not manage a single goal.
No.
And on top of that, Aberdeen, obviously he has earned them European football with that Scottish Cup win, but you do find it sometimes, we've seen it over the years in Scottish football, that getting into European football can sometimes end up being a curse for managers, because they'll go and they'll end up having some bad results, and it kind of compounds things that are not going well domestically, and we've seen that be the end for managers.
I mean, was it Red Star Belgrade who put them out? Partizan Belgrade.
Yep.
The Partizan had 10 men at Pittodrie after a ridiculous red card was given against them, and at one point the 10 men were 2 up at Pittodrie, and they took care of Aberdeen very easily, I thought, once they got the tie back to Belgrade.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Falkirk 0, St Mirren 2, and it is Killian Phillips. We mentioned him not too long ago, and he has put St Mirren 2-0 ahead at the Falkirk Stadium, and surely St Mirren are heading for all 3 points.
Yeah, there's no way back for Falkirk after that. So the lesson has to be absorbed. Find out where your weaknesses are. Unfortunately, the window doesn't open till January, so it's the damage you do between September and January.
Not a good afternoon for Joe Rothwell, who has now had to be substituted off after his injury. Nadeem Barami coming on for him, and 3 changes for Hearts as well. Off go Kizaridis, Braga and Kingsley. On come McCart, Magnuson and Kabangu.
How delighted you are if you're Joe Rothwell, eh? Brilliant. I'll just go and have a wee quick shower, Gaffer.
Appearance money.
Exactly. But the way things are going, there'll be no bonus money, and this clock's ticking away. I know Hugh said 35, we're now nearly 16:40. They'll start looking up at that clock, Hugh. Let me tell you, for Hearts I'll be looking at a calendar, and for Rangers it'll just be going as quickly as you'll ever imagine.
It is of course his debut, but since he came on I've not heard anything from Yusuf Chermiti.
No. Well, it was always going to be that kind of situation whereby fate has it that he scores the equaliser, if not the winner, or fate has it that the whole situation overwhelms him, because he's not had a lot of first team football. When you watch Everton, match of the day, whatever, I don't remember him.
No. Again, it's such a difficult environment to go in when it's so hostile and so toxic in Ibrox at this moment in time. You're 1-0 down and you're almost going on for your debut. They've got huge weight on your shoulder, so it's a lot to ask for such a young man as well to go on. But listen, you never know. In saying
that as well, we've not even really mentioned Bojan Miovski at all today either, and he started the game.
Right now I'm thinking, if you're Rangers, you probably take a point, wouldn't you? You would probably take a point right now. Cammy, I'm sitting there thinking, look, I'd probably take a point just now.
The players might, but who else would? But because Russell Martin, that certainly, he knows that a point, surely knows that it's disastrous for Rangers.
Yeah, the optics, and we always talk about the optics now. The optics would be if they get a draw. That's 5 draws in a row. No wins, 5 league draws in a row. And the booing.
I'll stop you there. As you say the word booing, penalty to Hearts.
Wow.
Milne down in the box. It was a mazy run from Harry Milne. He goes down, and it is going to be a chance for Hearts to double their lead from the spot.
Who took him down? Do we know?
Not sure. I will find out for you.
This is a killer blow. This is a killer blow.
Well, we checked, obviously, as they always are.
If this goes in the back of the net, then Ibrox will either explode with anger or it will empty.
But by the same
I think the fans will stay and let their frustration go.
There's somebody just texts Hugh. Did he score, Hugh? Did he score?
It's Russell Martin looking for a lift.
Still being checked at the moment, so Rangers may get off with it. You never know.
This will be interesting.
Well, when you said penalty, I was thinking that it would be the other end there.
Yes, so was I.
And a good opportunity.
Because it kind of felt as if Hearts really hadn't been
attacking,
in the Rangers box too much.
And they were probably quite happy just to get to 80 minutes and soak up the pressure.
I think it was Diamandi with the foul.
Right, okay.
Diamandi.
So it's a pivotal moment. If Hearts do get the penalty and score, game over. If Hearts don't get the penalty, we're back to square one. if Hearts get the penalty and miss, then it's hell for leather for the last 10 minutes.
It's exciting, this.
Yeah,
I told you at 2 o'clock there's a wee edge about this weekend.
Is it a check?
Yeah. There's an edge.
The penalty stands. So Hearts will get the chance to double their lead at Ibrox, and of course it will be Lawrence Shankland to take, looking for his second of the game.
Huge moment. Huge moment.
See, I would be more happy if you nipped down to Ibrox, get your gloves on, because you've got a record of saving penalties, as you quite rightly remind me week in, week out now.
Have you watched it yet?
No, I wouldn't watch that.
More chance directed towards Russell Martin as well, as Lawrence Shankland lines up to take this penalty. And we wait.
Hugh, stop putting him off.
No, you just say, what time's your programme finish?
You can only imagine what the atmosphere will be like inside Ibrox. Now David Friel will give us it's saved.
Told you.
But
retake
with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Lawrence Shankland scores the rebound, and it is Rangers 0, Hearts 2.
Right, and what did I tell you? We're looking at Sky Sport, and that stadium is starting to empty.
Yeah, David Friel saying that as well, that the supporters are making their way out, and you'd imagine, as Cammy says, the ones that are staying are probably quite likely staying just to voice their opinion at the end of the game.
Absolutely. Again, there'll be certain fans that would want to leave and will want to just stay to voice their opinion, to make sure they're heard and their voice is heard towards the manager, the board and the owners of the club, but then the players as well. That it isn't good enough. Because this is a disastrous result. Absolute disastrous result.
They'll pull the trigger?
Not tonight.
Will they give them the Hibs?
Yes.
I think it's a massive call. Giving him another game, I think it's a huge call, because he has lost all faith from every single Rangers fan. I'd be amazed if anyone phones in tonight and backs him.
Because he's going to come out to that next week.
Yeah.
And that surely affects the players. It puts them under pressure.
Absolutely.
So you've taken a chance in the
But
cup.
earlier on, you two guys who have both played for Rangers and both been in this cauldron and in this movie spoke about big hearts, big temperament. He clearly doesn't have big hearts and a big temperament there. You know, you can point fingers at the manager, style of play, this, that, the other, but there's no, let me go back in history, there's no John Gregg, there's no Graham Souness, there's no John Brown.
But have the players lost belief in the manager
this early?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, he's chucked him a few players under the bus already.
Yeah.
Nico Raskin, the best player for me, sitting in the stand.
Yeah, it's a valid point.
So
I think he'll do very well to be in the dugout next week, Hugh. I hate saying that. I hate shit managers getting the sack, but the fans, and I would hate to be Russell Martin right now, apart from his bank balance.
Because it is such an awkward scenario when a new board come in, new owners, and one of these first of all.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Falkirk have one back. It's St Mirren 2, Falkirk 1. Brian Graham with a goal late on in that game, so potential for late drama there. But as I was going to say, there's the awkwardness of a new board, a new regime, new owners coming in, and by all accounts, everything that Andrew Kavanagh, Parag Marathi was saying, what Kevin Thelwell was even saying during the week, is that, you know, sacking managers has not worked at Rangers. They need to stick with something. It needs to be long term. There's only so long that can go on, can't it?
Well, yeah, you're quite right. The problem is, with managers gone by, Russell Martin has come into the club unwanted in the first place.
Yep.
Because they wanted the list from which Rangers chose their new manager, Ancelotti Jr., fairly exotic appointment. Who knows? He couldn't have done any worse than Russell Martin, that's for sure. But they didn't want Russell Martin to begin with, and then things have gone from bad to worse. And the day of reckoning is coming, because Kevin Thelwell must call San Francisco and say, we really do have a problem here, because the fans are making it known during the game today they don't want Russell Martin to be there.
I would like to say as well, though, full credit to Hearts. They've came to Ibrox, they've identified this is a wounded animal. They've scored their goals. They've went about their business in the first half very well, very dominant, looked as if they deserved a 1-0 lead. And then they've soaked up a lot of pressure. They've maybe rode their luck a little bit, but then they've went and got that second goal. And listen, they've had an absolutely brilliant start to the season, so you've got to give them credit.
Again, Cammy, we are 13th of September. Hearts are 9 points ahead of Rangers.
Incredible.
One thing that will get lost in this as well is Hearts. A big win for Hearts at Ibrox. Yes, Rangers aren't in a good place at all, but it means that Hearts are on 13 points after 5 games. It's a brilliant start for Derek McInnes. It's a brilliant start for their new regime, new manager, new investor in Tony Bloom as well. And this is going in the right direction, certainly.
Well, Tony Bloom certainly talks a good game. Hearts being a disruptive force and what they were capable of doing. But the hard facts of the matter are Hearts are now top of the table with 13 points. Celtic beneath them on 10, playing tomorrow. Rangers are still in the bottom 6.
Rangers would be down to 10th as it stands in the table. They would be below Falkirk, Kilmarnock and Dundee United on goal difference.
Livy would overtake them. Livy have got a point at the moment.
The only teams that would be below them would be Dundee and Aberdeen at the close of play today.
Astonishing.
Incredible.
That's why I think he may be in massive trouble by the next couple of days.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do, Hugh. And I know about the factors of the new owners and not sacking managers. Look, the fans will not accept it. You've now given Hearts and Celtic, if they win tomorrow, such a start. He's going to come out to that next week.
Yeah.
And that does affect players. It affects everything. It affects the atmosphere. And all of a sudden, we're talking about big characters. You're right. There's no John Greggs, John Browns, Terry Butchers, Richard Gough Sooners. There's none of that at Ibrox just now. So all of a sudden, if you're a director or the people that own Rangers Football Club, you're thinking, as much as we'd like to back you, we've got to look at the situation.
We always think that we are the mad capital of the world. But examine European football. Eric Ten Hag got 2 games at Bayer Leverkusen. 2! And they sacked him. Nuno Espirito Santo was sacked at midnight during the week. And the players woke up to find the manager had been sacked and Ange Postecoglou had been appointed. Well, they were in their beds. So there is no composure anymore. There's no we'll wait and see. The big thing for me is that the owners need to look and say, right, yes, Russell Martin came in and promised this and this style of play, results. He spoke about when his first few interviews was all about winning at Rangers Football Club. That's what it's built on. That's what it's all about. The evidence isn't there that he can deliver any of these things that he said. There's no style of play. He's not winning games of football. So for me, there comes a point when somebody's said something and promised something and they're not delivering it. You've got the right to move them on.
He came out with after the transfer window will be different. It'll be a different look squad. It'll be a different team. He brought in 3 players. He was correct in that, but he's not getting results.
I don't think we'll have a call between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock that is anything other than he must go and he must go now. I think that will be the temperature among the Rangers fans.
In terms of league football, 5 games isn't the biggest sample size at all. No. However, if you are Rangers manager and you've picked up 4 points from your opening 5 games, it is enough of a sample size, isn't it?
And also you have the optics again. People will look at the league table and find Rangers are third bottom of the Premiership, and it's crisis time. It's now crisis time at Ibrox, and newspaper offices all over Scotland now are checking to find out when Rangers last started a season as badly as this one. 5 games gone, no wins, 4 draws and 1 defeat. Third bottom of the league. You might have to go back to the 19th century.
7 minutes added at Ibrox.
Well, only 7 minutes of torture again for Russell Martin, I would say.
Yeah, it is, and he'll be preparing himself for, again, everything that's coming up, the boos, the chants that'll be continuously going between now and the end of them 7 minutes, but also the questions that he's going to have to face.
Do you think the fans will walk around the park applauding?
No.
I think he'll be straight down the tunnel, and again it's going to be difficult for him as a person. He needs to deal with it. It's as you mentioned, it's a hard situation.
The point you make is the perfect one. As soon as he goes in, someone in the press room rightly, justifiably will say, Russell, are you considering your future?
We'll wrap this up, Hugh, because the full times are coming.
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I have played alongside Craig Gordon, Lewis Morgan and Stephen Thompson. I've been managed by Jim Jeffries and Robbie Nielsen. I've won a league title in Scotland, and I've also been a player of the year. Who am I? Well, I scored 2 goals at Ibrox today. Have a guess.
Lawrence Shankland is the answer, and as Hugh says, has 2 goals at Ibrox. Hearts are 2-0 up. It is full time between Aberdeen and Livingston. Not a classic there. It's finished 0-0. Let's go to the Falkirk Stadium. Full time between Falkirk and St Mirren. Fraser Wisher.
Yeah, Falkirk 0, St Mirren 2. Small band of St Mirren supporters to my left. You may be able to hear them. Absolutely delighted because their team's got the first win of the season. It was deserved for the better second half performance. Declan John, the best player in the park throughout, was involved in both. His direct free kick wasn't the best strike, but deflected into the net, and then his cross was headed home by Killian Phillips. Brian Graham did get a late goal to give Falkirk hope, but it was not to be. Very little happened in front of either goal in the first half. Just 2 soft chances. Mark O'Hara headed a Declan John cross down into Bain's arms, no real power. At the other end, it was very similar. McKeever, the header from a take cross and no power, and right into Shamal George's hands. Hope we're back in the second half, and it was a bit better. Brighter start, 56 minutes. Mandron set up at O'Hara. He should have done better from 16 yards. He missed Cody's half volley over the bar. At the other end, really good move on the right hand side, ended with Keelan Adams. Cross shot a yard wide. He caught between both a cross and a shot, and he did neither, and the ball drifted by the post. The opener came in 64 minutes for St Mirren. A bit of fortune in the goal. 25 yards out, a free kick by Declan John. Not the best strike. It took a huge deflection off the wall. Bain was diving to his left. The ball went into the corner of the net at the right hand side. Falkirk almost got an equaliser, and it would have been a bit fortunate as well. Calvin Mill on the right hand side, he's crossed to a deflection off Declan John, looped over Shamal George and was just over the bar. In 71 minutes it was almost to Killian Phillips. Clever run into the box as he does often in the inside right position. Good chest control and a smart shot, and an excellent save by Scott Bain, diving low to his right to parry. But it was 2-0 in 81 minutes. Again, really good work on the left hand side by Declan John. He got to the byline, lovely left foot cross into the 6 yard box. Phillips appeared as he does late on and flicked his header into the far corner. It was almost 3 when Declan John again with his cross, but McCann at the back post, it hit him in the knee, and a brilliant save by Bain to stop an own goal diving to his left. That should have been it, but Falkirk did get a lifeline in 88 minutes. A lovely cross from the left by Leon McCann, sub Brian Graham, rose 6 yards out as he's done throughout his career to head past the goalkeeper. Bain then made a really good save to his right to keep the score down. Richard King struck it really well from 20 yards, but the keeper dived to his right. But Falkirk just couldn't grab that equaliser. And in the strange world of Scottish football, St Mirren, first win of the season in 5 games, now are up to third in the table. Falkirk really disappointing, didn't do enough to get a point. The full-time score, Falkirk 1, St Mirren 2.
Full time at Dens Park between Dundee and Motherwell. Tom Grant.
Yeah, Dundee 1, Motherwell 1, and it's a case of, for these teams, neither being overly happy with the point that keeps them both winless in the Premiership. For Motherwell, it's played 5, drawn 5, and once again, perhaps worryingly, another failure to hold on to a lead. They started the match as much the better team, being patient and conducting play with pass after pass, exactly what we're becoming accustomed to from a Jens Berthelascu team. In truth, there wasn't too much real quality kicking about this football match. One might describe it as scrappy if it wasn't for Tawanda Maswahise's moment of magic on 33 minutes. He took the ball on the turn midway through the Dundee half and started bounding goalwards, skipping past Clark Robertson in the Dundee defence before smashing his right-footed shot past John McCracken at his near post. A few murmuring of home boos at the loss of that goal became a chorus as the half-time whistle blew, with Motherwell well on top and looking for a second goal. But the old adage is it's a game of 2 halves, and credit to Stephen Presley, who changed it up. Cameron Congreve replacing Joe Wesley, who was injured late in the first half. That change created problems, the right winger pestering Emmanuel Longello and winning a foul early in the second half. The resultant free kick was swung into the Motherwell penalty box, and Luke Graham, who I mentioned pre-match was one of the few standouts thus far for the Dundee team this season, found himself free and nodded past Callum Ward, putting the header across the Well keeper. Amazingly, the Dens men were building a bit of confidence, and Simon Murray nearly took advantage of a defensive mix-up from a Congreve cross, putting his diving header just wide of the post. The Dundee captain and ultra competitor will be lying in his bed tonight thinking about the chance he missed on 65 minutes. Finding himself free from 12 yards, the goal at his mercy, he rolled his first time shot wide. Likewise, Motherwell's Apostolos Stamatolopoulos, or number 9 as Daz would call him, had a sighted goal from 3 yards out. He scuffed his shot wide, the Australian injuring himself in that moment after colliding with the post and had to be taken off. A lot of changes seemed to disrupt the end-to-end flow of this match, one that was getting more and more competitive. Substitute Elijah Just took the ball well on 70 minutes, splitting the home defence open to play in Masparise, who only had McCracken to beat but could only see his efforts saved. Murray went down in the box late on, but it was quickly waved away by both the referee and Callum Scott and the VAR. But with 5 minutes left, Dundee midfielder Jan Danda was given his marching orders for a heavy tackle on Lucas Fadinga. He did connect with the ball but charged in studs up, and the VAR confirmed his red card. The Steelmen couldn't take advantage of their man advantage, and the match did fizzle out a bit. No boos at full time from the Dundee fans this time, it must be said. For the away fans travelling down the A90 tonight, they might start to get a little concerned about their inability to see a lead to its end. For Dundee, perhaps a glimmer of hope. A much better second half performance gets them their third draw of the season, and for me, one to watch, Cameron Congreve, who came on in the second half and gave Dundee something they didn't have already. So it finishes here, Dundee 1, Motherwell 1.
Still going at Ibrox, David Friel telling us the chants have turned to sacked in the morning from the Rangers supporters. I'm sure it will be full time in the next few seconds.
We have reached crisis time. That's not an exaggeration, it's not journalistic licence. The Rangers fans know it. By going from the obscene chant about where the manager should go, they've now gone to the sacked in the morning. It's crisis time, and Andrew Kavanagh.
Full time, let's go to Ibrox, David Friel.
Rangers 0, Hearts 2. Andrew, Hearts go top of the league. Rangers hit rock bottom under Russell Martin. His own fans were shouting sacked in the morning, you're getting sacked in the morning, and that basically sums up a day when Ibrox turned toxic and fully against their manager. Lawrence Shankland grabbed a goal in each half to secure a first Ibrox win in 11 years for Hearts. They sit 9 points above Rangers after 5 games, and you just wonder how much longer Russell Martin can last. There were repeated chances against the manager throughout the game, with Ibrox nearly empty long before the end. The fans who did stay turned their fury on the manager at full time. Martin was given a vote of confidence by Andrew Kavanagh before the Old Firm game a fortnight ago, but the vast majority now want him out. As I said, it was toxic, with Rangers fans chanting for the banished Nico Raskin and against Russell Martin. He's now clinging to his job, and you just wonder what the club's new American owners will do. Hearts bossed the first half. Rangers were utterly awful. Shankland put them ahead in 21 minutes, and it was the least they deserved. Claudio Braga claimed the assist, a clever pass, and the Hearts captain buried a low finish past Jack Butland. Tello Asgard hit the bar late in the first half, but Rangers had offered so little in attack. Martin was booed off the touchline at half time. He was then booed back onto the touchline for the start of the second half. He made 2 changes then, Derek Cornelius and Oliver Anton coming on. Rangers definitely improved in the second half. They put a lot of pressure on Hearts for a spell, barring the odd break. It was Martin's side who had all the attacking intent. Jady Gassama hit the post, Anton had a shot saved, Derek Cornelius ended a goal disallowed in 68 minutes. Referee Stephen McLean felt Asgard impeded Alexander Swallow and ruled the goal out. Rangers were pushing, but Hearts then hit him with a sucker punch in 82 minutes. Harry Millen danced into the box and went down under a Mohamed Diamandi challenge. Stephen McLean pointed to the spot. There was a long VAR check before he confirmed the award. Shankland stepped up, his penalty was saved by Jack Butland, but the Hearts captain pounced on the rebound to make it 2-0. Credit to Hearts, who were outstanding to a man. They are now 9 points ahead of Rangers, but Russell Martin, he was quick up the tunnel at full time. He faces serious questions over his future after yet another dismal performance. Full time, Rangers 0, Hearts 2.
Well, you could hear the contrast there, the cheers from the Hearts fans and the boos from the Rangers supporters. And now it's over to you. 0141 951 1025. The open line is here all the way through until 6 o'clock. You can continue listening on the radio, or you can switch over to the live stream on YouTube and on social media. Gordon Dalziel, Hugh Keevins, Cammy Bell taking your questions. And Rangers fans, what needs to happen next? Defeat to Hearts at home at Ibrox. 0141 951 1025. Give us a call now.
This season, I want to feel it from the start, from the whistle, from the first touch. Want to beat the odds, want to take an early lead, want to see why he costs so much money, want to shout pen before the ref is even called in, want to see the call go our way for once. I want to hear their lot go quiet, want to see them leave early, want to drop into the group chat to tell them I've seen the future, want to hear them agree, and if not I'll say, want to bet? Bet Fred. 18 plus, gambleaware.org. This season, I want to see us have a real shot. Want to see us at full strength. Want a bench that gives us options. Want to get some momentum. Want to do it on a cold, wet night in November. Want to be top at Christmas. Want to beat them on Boxing Day. Want to go ahead in January. Want to put the league table on the group. Want to hear them say, can they do it this year? Want to listen to their doubters. Want to prove them all wrong. Look them in the eye and say, want to bet? Bet Fred. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
You can't do much in under 5 minutes. Boil an egg? Sure. Cook a roast dinner? No chance. But comparing car insurance prices with mustard.co.uk? Easy. See what you could save in just a few minutes. Click mustard.co.uk. Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. See website for details.
What's on TV? The answer is a lot. There's never been more choice over what to put on the box with an abundance of great new shows, but you can miss them all if you don't know where to look. And that's where the Pilot TV podcast comes in, your essential guide to every show that matters. Each week we sift through the very best in prestige TV to help you decide what's worth spending your time on and what isn't. So join me, James Dyer, as well as venerable TV critics Boyd Hilton and Kay Ribeiro, and let us help take the stress out of your downtime. The Pilot TV podcast, because you can't watch everything.
After the action, it's your reaction. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Well, what an afternoon of action in Scotland, and the big result: Rangers 0, Hearts 2. Rangers fans, we want to hear from you. 0141 951 1025 on the phones. Remember, we are on the live stream as well if you want to watch that on YouTube and on social media. And just before we go to the phones, Hugh, how do you sum up what we've seen this afternoon?
Well, I sum it up by saying that Russell Martin is now at a critical stage, and that there must be a conversation tonight between Kevin Thelwell, the sporting director, and Andrew Kavanagh from 49ers Enterprises, because the fans have decided they no longer want Russell Martin. It's not a case of they're divided. They don't want Russell Martin. The abuse that he received today tells you that, and Rangers have a big decision to make. Hibs next weekend in the Premier Sports Cup. Do they give him a cup tie, knowing that the atmosphere will be as toxic as it was throughout today, or do they cut their losses now? I know it sounds incredible, but he this weekend faces a real concern that he might lose his job.
0141 951 1025. Let's go straight to the phones. We're here until 6 o'clock, and I cannot tell you how busy it is. Let's start with Brian, who's a Rangers fan in Larkhall. Brian, what's your take on today?
Phoned in recently to back Russell. It was actually can't remember when it was. It was a couple of weeks ago. It's I hate sack managers. I really do, and I'm just one of those supporters that like to back a manager as much as I possibly can. But results tell you, that it's probably time for him to go.
What is it about today specifically, Brian, that's the tipping point for you?
Well, if you look at, we haven't won any of our first 5 league games. I'm a bit choked, to be honest. I'm a bit emotional. but I'll try to explain my point of view. I cannot remember. I'm of an age where I don't follow the club now, but they're in my heart and they always will be. But I did follow them in the 70s, 80s and the 90s. I can't... I mean, somebody would need to explain to me when was the last time we didn't win any of our first 5 games. And that's basically what it is. And also, the stadium, the toxicity that's there. And I heard you saying, can they give them the League Cup tie next week? And the answer to that is no, because I think most fans have made up their mind. It's awful.
I think Brian is describing the prevailing mood among the Rangers fans. It is for the Rangers hierarchy. Remember, 49ers Enterprises took over Rangers, and it was to make Rangers great again. It was to be the new dawn. It was to be the beginning of the end of Celtic's domination. And look where we are tonight on the 13th of September. The 49ers Enterprises have a very big call to make within the next 48 hours.
Do you know what we're not taking into consideration here as well? And I know some people will maybe mock this. You wonder how the Rangers manager's feeling just now in that dressing room. He's looking at players who'll probably think, you guys have let me down, I've let you down. He's stood there, he's heard those chants, he knows he's not wanted. You wonder sometimes as a manager, you get to a stage where you say, the best thing for me would to be getting out of this building.
He doesn't seem like the type of character, does he though?
But let me tell you something. I don't care what sort of character you are. When you're standing there, you probably get your family up in that stand as well, right? That is the most loneliest place in the world when you're standing taking that sort of abuse and fans wanting you out, want you sacked and everything. They've turned against you. Sometimes as a manager you go away home and you think, I don't want to quit, I don't want to show I'm a quitter, but am I really going to go forward here with this team?
Yeah, listen, I agree. Listen, he'll be really, really low, and you can't just solely blame it on Russell Martin. The players haven't delivered on the pitch either, so they've got to take an element of the blame of what's happened at Rangers with the start of this season, but it always falls with the manager. Of course it does. The main blame will lie with Russell Martin, his style of play. For me, the big thing is that there's no evidence there going forward. As Russell Martin being the manager, he told us when he first came in he was going to deliver a style of play, he was going to be a winner, they were going to win games. He's not delivered any of that.
Hugh Cammy is the type of person who would fall on his sword and resign.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does to me.
Do you?
Yeah.
No, I genuinely I disagree. I don't think he would. I think it'll be interesting to see his interview after the game, because I don't think he will say he's going to resign. I don't think he'll say he's defeated. I don't think he'll say it's not worked. I think he'll try and say that.
Do you not think he'll have a conversation with someone that he's very close to on the board? He'll have a chat and then probably take that decision from there. Look, I know what you're saying, that does he look like the kind of guy? He looks an arrogant, self-confident, everything about it. I totally agree, but I get back to it, Hugh. That's a very lonely place. It's a hard place. And when you're hearing those fans constantly wanting you out the building, it becomes difficult for you.
It is, but that's the pressure of being a Rangers manager. You've got to deliver wins, and he knew that when he came in the door. He knew he had to win
but
games.
He's not delivered them.
No, he's not. I know.
Well, thank you to Brian. What about Mason in Bishop Briggs?
Hi guys.
How are you feeling after that result today?
Upset, of course. You know, you're never going to be happy after a 2-0 defeat. But I think the way that we treated Russell Martin is completely unacceptable. I feel a bit embarrassed for some of the Rangers fans, the stuff that has been shouted at him. But I also don't think that is entirely his fault. I believe that with the correct amount of time, the right players, his tactics will definitely succeed in Scottish football.
What makes you think that, Mason? Has there been any evidence so far to suggest that Russell Martin's style of play is going to work?
Definitely. In spells, in some of these games, I know spells isn't good enough as a Rangers manager, but in spells we have looked really good. You know, I highlight Panathinaikos, especially that second half. The second half against Bruges, you know, we're really up for it. So it's just about getting that momentum going for the full game, and I think we can become really successful under Russell Martin.
I have to point out that I believe that Mason will be very, very much in the minority with his views, and I wouldn't have mentioned the Bruges match in any way, shape or form, because it ended 9-1 on aggregate to Bruges, which will be held against Russell Martin as well, and there is no evidence at all to support what Mason has to say.
Mason, what do you actually think Russell Martin's style of play is?
Control possession, don't force the ball, press at the right time, and I think if that works, we will become really successful.
But it's not working, that's your problem. And Mason, you said there about the right players. He's brought 13, 14 in this transfer window. He's got all the players, he's got everything at his disposal. They're leaking goals all over the place. They don't look defensively sure. They're not, obviously today, not scoring goals. They're changing things at half time. They brought in players that I think are now starting to realise, playing for a club the size and the demands that Rangers put on you, they're starting to struggle a little bit. It's not looking positive for me.
Is there another issue in that it not only is it not really getting better, it almost looks as if it's getting worse for Rangers?
Yeah. Bruges 6-0. Next game Celtic 0-0. Next game Hearts 2, Rangers 0. They haven't scored a goal in 3 games. They've been humiliated in Europe. They've taken on a Celtic side who are in turmoil at Ibrox and could do nothing, and now look today. So I'm very much afraid that Mason is coming up with an argument that not one man, woman or child who supports Rangers will be able to back up.
Well, thanks to Mason. What about Dylan in Coatbridge? Are you on your way back from the game, Dylan?
Hi, I am literally just walking in the door just now. To be honest, I don't know what Mason's been going to or what he's been watching, but there is absolutely nothing there at all. We look lost out of possession, in possession. We don't even look like a Glasgow Rangers team, to be honest. It is absolutely embarrassing. There's no way he can continue to be manager as of next week, or we will not have any hope of any trophy success or nothing at all.
Is that it? Completely end of the road, Dylan? There's no way back?
It's got to be. I called on a few weeks ago and I was saying how Bruges was as important a game as like the Celtic game, blah, 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 in the league. But see if you could see any sort of style or any sort of improvement at all. There's nothing. There's massive spells in that game. We're actually getting pinned into our half in our own 18-yard box against Hearts at Ibrox. That should not be happening for a club our size. With the budget that we've spent, it should not be happening. We've scored 3 goals in 5 games. We're 10th in the league. It's absolutely abysmal. There's nothing, like I say, we look lost. We don't even look like a football team. I can't see anything at all what he's trying to do. And to me, a good manager should be able to play 2 or 3 different formations, a 4-4-2, 4-3-1-2, be able to switch depending on who you're playing and how you're playing.
Dylan, is our eyewitness, Dylan, at Ibrox, Chermity, £8 million, did he do anything when he came on?
Nah, he didn't do anything at all. I mean, he looks physical, but a few times he had the ball, he kind of he looks quite clumsy. It's hard to judge him off maybe not even 45 minutes, but to me, if Russell Martin gets his jotters, I think Farewell should be next as well, because to me, they do not have an absolute clue how it is to be part of Scottish football and do well in Scottish football.
I do think it's hard to judge someone coming on to that situation, and I know the big price tag, Hugh, and you're quite right to ask the question, but you look at a lot of the signings just now, they've just... Maybe it was too many signings coming in. It just seems fans are just picking in Rothwell, Aarons was tried, and Antman come on, had a great debut, all of a sudden disappeared again. Young Moore come up with this big reputation from Tottenham. He's not really hitting the heights. I keep saying it, people don't understand. There's 2 things. Playing with a club, and Cammy will understand because he's been there, playing with a club the size of Rangers is a very, very hard thing to do. Managing a club the size of Rangers and not winning is probably more difficult, standing here in the criticism.
Yeah, Dylan, Rangers are 10th now after today's results. How hard is that to look at?
Sure, I'm 30, so I've not seen obviously the 80s and the early 90s of football. I wasn't old enough, but it's the lowest I've felt confidence wise as a Rangers fan. Even when we went down as well with the budget and that, it's the worst style of football I've ever seen in my life. everybody that sits next to me as well feels the same. Like, there's no fan in there that feels confident under him or optimistic or anything at all. Like, you think after our international break, we might get the foot down now, start playing a bit of football and get results, but if anything, that's worse. That performance there was just as bad, if not even worse. We were lucky to get a point against Motherwell, Dundee, St Mirren. Celtic, if we can't beat that Celtic team, then we're never going to beat them realistically. It's absolutely shocking.
It's quite incredible, Dylan saying that it's essentially the worst style of play he's seen at Rangers. One of the main reasons that Russell Martin was brought in was for his style of play. Rangers had, several managers beforehand that had been, thrown at them that they don't have a discernible style of play. Russell Martin was meant to come in, have this possession heavy. He kept talking about wanting to dominate teams, and it looked as if the first half Rangers were being dominated by Hearts, and it's not the first time that Rangers have been in that scenario this season.
That's what I was going to say, sorry to jump in, but like, he's coming out saying that, but apart from about 60 minutes of the Pilsen game, I'm yet to see any of these, all these words that he's using, I'm yet to see any of that out of pre-season right up until now. I'm yet to see any of that for more 60 minutes against Pilsen, but other than that, there's been nothing, not even a glimmer of it.
Dylan, I said that earlier in the show. I said you'd be lucky if you'd be able to put 90 minutes together for a good performance from Rangers this season over the games.
Before the game and at the game, I said the exact same thing.
Yeah, so listen, I don't think Rangers have a style yet. I genuinely watch them. I've watched them a number of times this season, and I don't quite understand what they're trying to do. They're very slow and laboured in the possession when they play out from the back. They've not got any penetrating passes. Their movement isn't quick up top, and that's what plays into other teams' hands. They're very weak defensively. They're open. So I just don't get what he's trying to do. And again, you're right, Andrew. When he came into the club, he promised a style of play, an identity, which the club have been missing for a number of years. But what the most important thing for me is what he said at the start was winning games of football. And that's what Rangers is built on. And he's not doing that, and that's why we're in the situation we're in.
On the subject of identity, I look at the individuals who've been signed, at their identity, at their character. And the manager, everything starts with the manager and ends with the manager, and the manager gets the sack because you can't sack the whole squad. But I'm looking and wondering if any of these guys have what it takes.
Do you know something? Here's another thing, and I said it in the summer, and some people sort of someone come on, shot me down in flames. It was well documented. He didn't take on a lot of pre-season games because he wanted to work on the structure down in England and work in a training camp. And you were thinking, okay, I can take that on board. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to work into the patterns of play and the possession and what you're trying to go over. But everyone that comes on this phone in, Cammy, yourself, Hughes, have said it today, we don't see that style of football. We don't know what it is. And I now look at the recruitment and I think, is the recruitment good enough to try and play that style of football that Russell Martin wants to play? The question, Rangers are all over the place. I don't think Russell Martin will last. I don't think you can put Russell Martin in next week against Hibs.
Well, thank you to Dylan. Keep those calls coming. 0141 951 1025. Ian is in the city centre and we'll speak to him next.
It's Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line. 0141 951 1025.
Gordon Dalziel, Cammy Bell and Hugh Keevins on Clyde One Super Scoreboard, and we want to hear from you on the day Rangers lost 2-0 to Hearts at Ibrox. There was booing, there were chants to get Russell Martin gone, chants by Rangers fans that he was getting sacked in the morning, and we've been hearing it on the phones as well. 0141 951 1025. Keep those calls coming until 6 o'clock, and hopefully before the end of the show we will hear from Russell Martin as well. Let's speak to Ian, who's a Rangers fan in the city centre. Ian.
Hi panel, thanks for taking my call. I phoned up on the 20th of August, almost a month ago, and I said that he wasn't the man for the job. A lot of people knew, a lot of Rangers fans knew he wasn't the man for the job. They all know that. But even then, I couldn't see anything that this guy was trying to do. I couldn't see it getting any better. I don't even blame the players. Do you know that? A lot of people say, oh, you need to blame some of the players. I don't blame them, because I don't think, if we don't know what he's trying to do, how are they supposed to know? I mean, they look completely lost. He's not made one player better. I mean, Gassama came in, he hit the ground running, he scored a few goals. He's a shadow of the player he was. Antman came in, played, he was only in the door 5 minutes. He played really, really well in his first game. He's went backward. Anybody this guy signs he's never going to better them. He makes them worse. He actually makes them worse, and that takes some doing. And he's not going to. He is not going to resign in my eyes because he's too arrogant, and he won't fall on his sword. He'll never admit that he is wrong, and he was wrong to what he's done with Raskin. And again, that's been proved that by today's result. I'm not saying if Raskin was in, we would have won the game. You never know that. But I don't even think he's got any man management skills. I think he just rubs everybody up the wrong way. The players don't want to play for him, and there's no 48 hours. There should be a Zoom call, and this guy should be gone in the next couple of hours.
Do you think that'll happen,
We'll never
Ian?
win a European Cup if we get rid of him.
Do you think it could happen, Ian? Do you think Rangers will sack him?
I really don't know. I think they've got to. If they don't sack him tonight or tomorrow or on Monday at the very, very latest, then I think the board are just as arrogant as what he is. I mean, he sits in those press conferences and he looks arrogant. He looks like he's not got a care in the world. He maybe, as Gordon says, maybe it's the loneliest place in the world and blah, blah, blah. But he doesn't put himself, he doesn't endear himself to anybody. He just looks so arrogant and self-assured, even though everything's just crumbling around about him.
I think they take a massive risk if they go with Russell Martin next week against Hibs. You're getting into the cup. Hibs will come there like Hearts today and fancy that big time. Now, where I agree with the manager takes the large responsibility of the blame here. Let's not be kiddie. He's the guy that picks the team, the tactics, everything, makes the substitutions, so he's massive for it. But you can't let the players away lightly here, right? As much as it doesn't matter if you like the manager or dislike him or you don't like these tactics or whatever it may be, you've got to go out there. You've got 50,000 Rangers fans turning up there expecting a performance, so you've got to go out and do that. I've looked at their defending. Russell Martin's nothing to do with the two centre halves the way they defend at times. They're all over the place. They're experienced players. They should be able to, John Sear's an international as well, so you should be able to go and be able to defend properly. At the end of the day, he does take it, but I think the board will take a massive risk if they get into this cup tie with Russell Martin.
There is a complexity to the situation simply because Rangers are now American owned, so you have to speak to people in San Francisco. Now, Andrew Kavanagh, the Americans have a different approach to business than the one that's in operation here, as a rule. Is Andrew Kavanagh going to say, right, the first big call that 49ers Enterprises made with regard to Rangers was to appoint Russell Martin? In mid-September, are we to hold our hands up as well and say, look, we got that wrong? Are they willing to do that?
Why not, Hugh? Why not? Because they're bigger clubs than Rangers.
Yeah, but we don't know Andrew Kavanagh. You know, he's been over here, he speaks very well, but we don't know his approach when push gets to shove, and push has very definitely got to shove now. But is he willing to say, I've made a mistake?
But you're not successful if you're just going to sit there and go, we don't want to admit a mistake. I think you're more stronger if you turn around and say, do you know what? We've made a mistake here, and we're going to try and sort it as quickly as possible.
It certainly sits better with the Rangers fans. If Andrew Kavanagh and the 49ers Enterprise identify, we've made a mistake, we've got it wrong, we'll hold our hands up, and we then move on, and we move on pretty quickly. We don't let this situation fester any further. I think the Rangers fans will then appreciate that they've made a decision, and a big call as well. It's a big call early on in their reign, but again, I think the Rangers fans would see a little bit of appreciation for making that call.
I was going to say, if it continues in this vein, at what point does the anger then shift from Russell Martin to Andrew Kavanagh very to quickly. 49ers Enterprises if they're not making the decision that what appears the majority of Rangers fans want?
The answer to your question is yes, very quickly, because it cannot go on in this vein. I mean, Hibs is now monumental game for Rangers, and then the Europa League comes along, and they have a big call to make now.
Well, thank you to Ian. What about Thomas, a Rangers fan in Barrhead? How are you feeling?
Well, self-explanatory. I'm a Rangers fan. But the one thing I will tell you, right from the stadium itself, just as I was leaving at the main gate, a fairly noisy and sizable deputation were at the main gate and making their feelings clearly known as to what the future holds for Russell Martin. So that's just, they're there just now. So that type of stuff can't be ignored. But what I was going to say was, I'm in agreement with the previous caller, and I know that the panel seems to think the players are to blame. However, watch them game after game after game, and especially today. I don't hold the players to blame, and I'll tell you why. We don't know what kind of pattern Russell Martin is playing, but they're clearly playing to what Russell Martin has told them. Keep it, pass it back, pass it back. The first half, there was about 30 seconds to go in added on time, and you're 1-0 down. They were passing it, instead of getting it right into the penalty box, they were passing it along the back four. Clearly that's what they've been told to do. That's coming right from Russell Martin. So the players, we have I would say a good squad of players, but they're not being managed. They're being told by this ideological manager that we have, and as everybody says, his main fault is his arrogance and his ego. But the players are being clearly playing the way they're told. They are not using their initiative. And I think, that's what the main fault lies, is you're not getting, it's basically getting coached out. If Paul Gascoigne was in that team, he would be getting his natural skill coached out of him.
Again, Thomas is an eyewitness, and he's telling us that crowds have formed outside Ibrox. That is always the beginning of the end. When they gather at the door, you have to accept that you've reached your lowest point. So, as I say, there is a certain complexity to the situation. Transatlantic phone calls will need to be made. And if he's not to go, then Andrew Kavanagh has to come out and say why Russell Martin is staying. But if he is to go, the phone calls will need to take place. A settlement will have to be worked out, and it won't be done overnight.
Thanks to Thomas. What about Paul in Newton Mearns? We got you, Paul.
Hi, panel.
Hello.
All good. It's not Newton Mearns, Newton Farm, sorry.
Oh.
Just to correct you.
We'll get that changed.
I was just wanting to speak about, obviously, again, being at the game today. I just don't understand what I'm watching. I'm watching a team being physically out-muscled in all parts of the park, everywhere. I witnessed Hearts chase a ball down the head of it that was going out to the park, and the rest of the Rangers team are just jogging about. I've watched the centre-halves half pass the ball between each other. I've never seen a ball zipped at all. There's just a real slowness about Rangers' build-up play, like that kind of. I'm watching John Souttar against Scotland the other night, and I can see more aggressive, pressing the ball, zipping the ball, and then obviously I watched him today, and the passes they're half-hearted. Everything's so slow. There's no directness. I don't know what structure they're trying to adapt, but we're just getting absolutely bullied all over the park. I don't think any man can walk away with kind of pass marks or. And having said they've tried their hardest today, it's a terrible watch.
Does that not help things as well? What Paul is describing there, David Friel said to us during the game as well that there were boos at one point when it was really slow, laborious build-up play. If the players were actively trying to get the ball forward and looked more alert and looked like they were trying to make more of an attacking effort, would that help things slightly?
Yeah, listen, intensity is key for me. See, when you're playing at Ibrox, if you're playing with an intensity and aggression, the fans buy into that. The fans want to see that. That's for me, that's the first and foremost. That should be given in every single game, is the way that you play, the intensity, the drive. So yeah, I think it's important that Rangers players deliver that, but ultimately the manager has got to demand that from the side as well. So yeah, it sounds as if it's not been happening all season.
Cammy, the general impression that we're getting now is that the fans don't understand the style of play. don't like the style of play, don't want Russell Martin. So we've simply arrived at the impasse where the call has to be made. Kevin Thelwell has to call Andrew Kavanagh in San Francisco and say, we have a problem.
We're at the stage, Hugh, that everything's now getting scrutinised. Everything's getting blamed. You said it today, right? Silly things like, oh, he needs a haircut, right? He doesn't park his motor in a straight line. The game's up for Russell Martin. Yeah. The game is up for Russell Martin. The problem we've now got is the board's strong enough to pull that trigger.
We will hear from Russell Martin before the end of the show, but I will give you a bit of a preview. He's been asked if he would resign, and he said no, absolutely not.
Well, I said to you, he doesn't strike me as the type of person who would do that. He wouldn't have it on his record. But the fans have spoken. The sporting director has to make contact with head office, and head office is now in San Francisco. And either Andrew Kavanagh comes here to Glasgow, or they, Kevin Thelwell and whoever, have to go to him in San Francisco, because this has to be resolved within 24, 48 hours, or as Gordon Dalziel said, can you imagine what Ibrox will be like next Saturday when there's a cup at stake and the manager, who was booed onto the park again at half-time, he'll be booed onto the touchline before the game starts next week.
Well, let's speak to Carol just before we hear a bit from Russell Martin. Carol, how are you feeling about what you saw today?
Oh, diabolical. Tense in the league, substituted. You know, the Rangers fans were singing along with the Hearts fans. You know, but you're getting sacked in the morning. You know, just wow.
Does that just feel like the point of no return, Carol?
Definitely. When the final whistle went, it went straight down that tunnel.
Oh, you're not surprised. You're not surprised at that, Carol, are you?
No.
I would have been down the tunnel looking at the clock with 2 or 3 minutes to go, because you know the reception you've got to get. Look, I don't think there's a single Rangers fan now that will back Russell Martin. It'll be interesting to hear his press conference. You gave us a little tip out there now. When you say he won't resign, I don't think he'll resign either. But I think he's one of these guys that could easily sit down and say, look, this is what my contract's worth here. Let's get to a negotiation, because he knows deep down inside. He goes home tonight, he sits down and he reflects on what's happened in his Rangers career. He knows he's not wanted.
Well, Carol, stay on the line and listen to this. Here's Russell Martin responding to the fan chants, or was asked a question about the fans' chants towards him.
They're entitled to their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion, so I can't come out here and criticise that. And fans are always entitled to their opinion.
Russell, the fans have been quite clear that they would like you to resign and to go. It's overwhelming now from the support. No wins in 5, worst league start in many a year. The fans want you to go.
Mm-hmm. I don't think many of them wanted me here in the first place. So,
will you resign?
No.
What are you seeing that makes you think you can turn it around? Because that first 45, for example, today was abject. The side's getting worse, not getting any better.
Yeah, we have a lot of new guys in there. A lot of players trying to feel their way in an environment that's really difficult to feel their way into their Rangers career. Really, really difficult. We're on the side of three poor decisions, in my opinion. It's a handball for their first goal. Our goal is a goal. There's not a foul on the goalkeeper, and then Dio says he makes no contact. It's why it took so long. And we should have scored. We should have scored 2 or 3. And it was 1-0. We should have. And but there's anxiety at the moment. And the players are not the same team we see in training on Thursday and Friday when they go out and play in this environment right now. And that's not a criticism of anyone. To your emotion and your anger, I get it, I understand it. But we have to just keep working.
How does that make you feel, Carol?
Basically saying that the players they've got stage fright.
I think it's great news, Carol, because he did say there that they play very well on a Thursday, so the Europa League will be something to look forward to.
Well, I mean, we're tenth in the league now, you know, and if they keep playing the way they played today, you know, they're bottom of the league.
All I heard there from Russell Martin, in my opinion, was excuses. He was very dismissive of anything that's actually in this real world is happening with regards to the Rangers fans, their emotion, their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion. Of course they're entitled to their opinion, but just the way that he said it, his tone that he said it in, I think is quite disrespectful to the Rangers fan, in my opinion. And I just didn't quite feel as if he feels the emotion of the club and what's going on at this situation at this moment in time.
And his response to the question of will you resign is, well, I wasn't wanted in the first place.
Yeah, that's poor.
You're looking for more than that. You're looking for an acknowledgement of the fact that your start has been disastrous. And as Carol said, you're third bottom of the league. They don't need glib
Hugh, do you not think
responses.
the most alarming thing about he didn't explain how he was going to turn it around?
No.
See if you come out there and you're confident to say, look, I know it's been a dreadful start, I know the fans are right against me, but be assured we're working this way and it will be turned round because X, Y and Z. He had nothing to offer.
It's also not going to help supporters listening to that and him talking about referees and refereeing decisions today. We haven't seen them.
Touched on it there. Excuses, and that's the last thing he should be mentioning in that press conference. With everything that's went on today, whether you believe a refereeing decisions cost you today or not, that first 45 was unacceptable for Rangers. They were getting pinned in against a Hearts team, which are a decent Hearts team, but Rangers should never be getting pinned in at Ibrox, and they were for 45 minutes. They were second best ever. He never mentioned any of that his players weren't good enough in that first 45. He just alluded to excuses, refereeing decisions, and almost being dismissive of the fans who are absolutely raging at this time.
I listened to all of that, and I think in his own mind he doesn't believe it's as bad as it is.
He would need to be really foolish if that's the case. Listen, I didn't like the tone of his interview there, but if you take on board that he stood there for 90 minutes and took absolute abuse from the Rangers fans, wanting him out, not happy with him, obviously the rift between him and Raskin, the Rangers fans have sided with Raskin. I can understand a wee bit of anger and frustration. I can, Cammy. It's only human, but I think he's got to handle that better for the Rangers. But be in
touch with the emotion of the Rangers fans at this moment in time. I think you'd get a little bit more respect from them if you are in touch with their frustrations. And yes, of course he will be frustrated, but in that interview, he just doesn't. He doesn't come across. I agree with you. He doesn't come across as if he realises how big this situation is.
Well, we need to go to a break, but we'll hear more from Russell Martin and your calls next.
I can't listen to him, man.
After they play, you have your say. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Not long to go on Clyde One Super Scoreboard. Still time to get your calls in. 0141 951 1025. I think we may be able to hear a bit more from Russell Martin as well. And don't worry, we could be on until midnight tonight with the way that calls are going, but we'll be back tomorrow 4 until 7 to take plenty of your calls. Let's speak to Stephen in Springburn. Stephen, how do you feel about what you saw from Rangers today?
I'm in shock. I'm absolutely in shock. I'm in my late 60s and I've watched Rangers. My dad took me in the early 60s under Scott Simon when he left, Billy Thornton, David White, all the way through. This man is inept. I'm sorry. He hasn't got a clue. He doesn't know what it means. Doesn't know what it means to be a Rangers supporter or a Rangers manager. His tactics are all over the place. And I was sitting here after the game in tears. And I'm ashamed to admit that. The man hasn't got a clue. And if he's any gumption, he should walk right now, because this is going to cause turmoil. We thought it was bad with Pedro Caccino. Come on. This is now gone above and beyond everything. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we have the answer to the question, Stephen, because he was asked outright, will you resign? And he said, no, not a chance. And he says, some fans didn't want me here in the first place. So he is entrenched in his position, Stephen. And you are representative of 99.9% of the Rangers support. We all know the reasons why no one wants him to be there. But Russell Martin doesn't want to go, doesn't think he should go if you listen to him. And it's now for Andrew Kavanagh and Kevin Thelwell, the sporting director at Ibrox, to see where Rangers go from here, because Russell Martin, in his mind, is going nowhere.
Well, let's hear a bit more from Russell Martin before we bring Stephen back in. He was continuing to talk about the fan chants and was answering some questions from fan media.
It is what it is. Like, it doesn't affect me personally. Professionally, it's difficult because we need the team to play in a certain way that requires certain things, and it's really difficult when the atmosphere is how it is. And the same towards me, not towards them. I'm trying to say that to them. It should hopefully take a bit off them at some point. But it is what it is. We'll keep working until I'm told not to, and we have to start winning.
But do you agree with how badly the performance are, the levels? We don't look coached, Russell. It doesn't look good on the pitch. That's as bad as I've seen Rangers in all the time I've been watching them in that first 45. They are scared on the ball. There's no shape, there's no formation.
That's not tactics, mate. You've just said it yourself. That's scared. That's scared.
There's nothing there for them to grip onto.
No.
At all.
If we were producing the tactics all the time that we work on in training, that's what I just said to you. We see a very different team in training to then the game.
5 games, no wins. There's nothing there for you to back that up.
To back what up?
What you're saying about training and how they look.
You only see the outcome of the end of the week. I've not been happy with the performance. I've not sat here and said to you I'm really happy with the performance. I don't lie to you. I don't come out here and lie. I've not been happy with the level of performance. But also, it's my job to work out why. Is not big tactical problems. The problems are the emotion, managing anxiety, are psychological. So we have to try and work that out, and we have to maybe simplify it even more.
Is there a problem there that feeling in the stand, if performances continue, is just going to get worse? So if the players aren't able to cope with the atmosphere and the anxiety around the place, it's not just going to miraculously fix itself, is it?
I think Russell Martin there, in a sentence, explained the way this situation has to play out. They're scared, and it will get worse against Hibs next week, but the sentence was, I'll stay until I'm told not to. Therefore, he's passed the buck on to the owners of the club, and they now have to make a decision 24 to 48 hours whether or not to tell him you're finished.
He's looking for a payoff. Let's not be kidded here. Right, and plus the fact, if you're involved with Rangers at the top level and you're hearing the manager's reasons why Rangers are losing games, about being anxious and scared and everything, it's coming because of the toxic problems from the stands to the Rangers manager. So you need to remove that. Russell Martin's not going to remove that. The top board has got to come in and offer him a way out so that he saves face and he has to leave. Rangers fan, you said 99.9 there, Hugh. I would go 100.
Again, Russell Martin's passing the blame on to the players. By the way, I wouldn't be happy if a manager's coming out and saying you're scared to go on the pitch and play football and produce what you do every week, and what you're trained to do is go and play and win a game of football. That, again, I feel like is a little bit of a cop-out from Russell Martin. He never took any blames towards. He got asked about his tactical awareness, the way that his tactics were, and he said it's nothing to do with tactics, it's the players being scared. So you're automatically putting all the blame on the players. You're not taking any responsibility for that. You're saying it's because they're scared and it's nothing to do with my tactics, and I totally disagree with that. I really do. I think that, listen, if you're tactically aware as a player and you know exactly what you're expected to do on the pitch, why would you be going on the pitch scared? Yes, everyone knows there's this real negativity around about Ibrox at the moment, but you can flip that as a player by winning a game of football. So there's no reason, and certainly the players shouldn't be scared. They expect James Tavernier, how many games has he played for Rangers? He's not scared going on that pitch. He's seen this movie before. So I just feel like he's passing the blame again.
Well, thank you to Stephen. Just before we take a final call from David, a word for Hearts, because it always does get lost in amongst the hysteria in Glasgow. A big win for Hearts at Ibrox. They're now top of the league. It's a fantastic start to the season for Derek McInnes, isn't it?
Incredibly, Hearts are 9 points ahead of Rangers. And tomorrow it might be Hearts and Celtic who are 9 points ahead of Rangers. Celtic, in spite of the turmoil that engulfs the club right now, have been handed the best incentive they could possibly get to go to Kilmarnock and win. For Derek McInnes, it might just be that Tony Bloom is right and they can either split Celtic and Rangers or win the title.
David is in Springburn. David, take it away.
Hello. Okay, panel.
On you go, David.
Hi then. As what I was thinking myself, I think he should get sacked today. Savinier, player manager, right now.
No, that won't happen. He says that he'll stay.
They got Barry in.
Well, nothing will happen.
Barry's not going to come back in.
Nothing will happen until consultation with Andrew Kavanagh in San Francisco, because he and the 49ers Enterprises own the club. So they have to be consulted and asked, what do you want to do? Do you want to get rid of him, or do you want to persevere?
Do you think it will happen, David? Do you think he'll go?
Oh, he needs to go today.
But do you think it will happen?
Well, he wants a payoff. He's not going to leave. He wants the money.
From what Russell Martin's saying, he wants to continue in the job. He wants to have a successful Rangers team. He feels he can turn things around. Certainly that feeling isn't felt towards supporters, but there will sort of be all eyes now on
he's the only
board.
He's the only one that thinks he can turn it around, and fair play to him. But the Rangers fans, everyone's no confidence in him. I do agree with Cam. I think that he's interviewed tonight and he does throw his players under the bus a little bit, doesn't take the responsibility. I totally think he's sitting there as an experienced manager saying, give me a payoff and I'm out of here. And I think that's what he's looking for.
I mean, we can't say that with any certainty that is what Russell Martin is wanting. But
Russell Martin knows there's no way back here.
Do you think he knows it's done?
Of course he does. Of course he does. Listen, you call him arrogant, you call him this, you can't call him a fool, because he's sitting there knowing what his contract is. He knows that the game's up. The Rangers fans have had enough. Not one. Hugh says 99.9. It's 100%.
I'm only
not
talking
one
about
fan.
The second caller, Mason, who said he could see what he was trying to do and there was going to be a great success.
I think he was more talking about the players that they've got. I don't think anybody can see what the manager.
The situation now is quite clear cut. He's not resigning. Therefore, the club have to decide whether they sack him or allow him to go on. But next up, a cup tie, the first trophy of the season. Do they allow him to take charge in that match when he has said himself the players are scared to play at Ibrox?
How do you sum up today as a whole, Hugh?
Crisis time for Russell Martin and Rangers. Early in their reign, 49ers Enterprises have a major call to make. A matter of weeks ago, they appointed Russell Martin. Over the next 24 to 48 hours, they have to decide whether to sack Russell Martin.
Well, thank you for all your calls this evening. We could have stayed on until midnight, but don't fret, we will be here tomorrow 4pm until 7pm taking your calls. We'll be giving you reaction to Kilmarnock against Celtic. Of course, a big story at Rugby Park as well. There's going to be fan protests by Celtic fans. Already sounds as if there were fan protests outside Ibrox from Rangers fans after that 2-0 win for Hearts this afternoon. So we will take your calls between 4 and 7 tomorrow. Thank you for listening in today, watching on the live stream. Thank you to Gordon Dalziel, thank you to Cammy Bell, and thank you to Hugh Keevins as well. And it is the GBX up next.
This season, I want to see us have a real shot. Want to see us at full strength. Want a bench that gives us options. Want to get some momentum. Want to do it on a cold, wet night in November. Want to be top at Christmas. Want to beat them on Boxing Day. Want to go ahead in January. Want to put the league table on the group. Want to hear them say, can they do it this year? Want to listen to their doubters. Want to prove them all wrong. Look them in the eye and say, want to bet? Bet Fred. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.